Hello, everybody. This is Mauricio, otherwise known as RGV. Welcome back to our episode 11 of Starbase Photography Review. Today, we'll be reviewing photos taken yesterday at Starbase, and I will now be passing this along to Indy Star.
Hi, everybody. This is Indian Star. I'm really excited to go over the images today. Mauricio, as he mentioned, just took them yesterday, and a lot's been happening, so we're excited to get into this. GPJ, Grandpa Joe, you want to take it away?
Hey, everybody, it's Grandpa Joe joining you for another week of review. Thank you for having me. And over to you, Golden Boy.
How you doing over there, Grandpa Joe? You all right? Started off with
Doing
a laugh.
good.
You ruined your intro. I was looking forward to the normal one.
Sorry, I was playing the stream while listening, waiting for the music, and I heard Mauricio go, "Hey, everybody, it's Mauricio." I was like, "Oh, Mauricio's doing my part." My bad.
Gotcha. Well, hey, everybody, this is Zach, aka Golden Boy, and glad to be here with you guys. It's unfortunate we weren't able to get a flyover in this week, but there's definitely tons of updates on the ground as usual. So that's going to be really awesome to cover. And this week, I am giving my hands a break, and Thomas is actually going to be driving for us. So, Thomas, do you want to go ahead and take us away?
Yep, thanks. I'm Thomas, a moderator, commentator for RGV and Lab Padre, and I've been doing this stuff for years on the Discord side at Lab Padre, where we do rocket talks, where we basically do the same thing here. It's just this one's very specific and very in depth again. So next 3 hours are going to be quite a wild ride. So strap in. So I love this this background. This is a cool one. So thanks for fixing that up for us, Grandpa Joe.
My pleasure. Photoshopping and using MS Paint to clean up images is my full-time hobby. That and rockets.
Nice. So to start us off here, we do have a little bit of a fun bit of video that SpaceX had ported out a little bit ago, which is a full 360 view. So what do you think was going on here with this view, Mauricio?
Well, this view was obviously looks like it was taken with the drone, and the orbit around the tower looks really really smooth. So I'm basing it off that they are using orbit mode on that particular aircraft, and well, they're doing a really good job. I've never seen them release something like this before.
Oh yeah, this looks so good. It's a Twitter from Twitter, so it's it doesn't look the details aren't quite there. It's not as crisp as what you get, but this is still really neat to get up close like that.
Yeah, I hope they decide to release the real version soon, because I know that the 4K, or they probably got 8K on this thing. Maybe, you never know. I feel like we got a better quality version that they could release for us.
I'd be looking forward to, if they did that, the 3D models that could be rendered out of that would be amazing.
Yeah, it's just it is kind of a neat view to see. You can even see the top of the Super Heavy booster B4 here, where you can see all of those little tidbits that you don't really get to see around, and this gives that full view of everything there. So it's kind of just a neat practice. And I did see that they elevated themselves on that beginning of the shot to avoid potentially hitting that crane. So it was like,
right,
that was neat. Plus, they didn't want to have the view of going literally through that crane to get this. This is really excellent drone footage.
Yeah, I anticipate that this shot was done previously as a practice run, just because, like you mentioned, the crane. I've done these type of orbit shots on my day-to-day job, and number one thing is you want to watch out for the surrounding objects. In particular, you can see them pull back just a little bit. Oh, there you go. I think
Right
you can
there.
see them pull back just a bit to avoid the going too close. Let me see.
Yeah, so right here it goes up and just kind of avoids this this crane here and like shooting through or even hitting the crane potentially. But that is some smooth drone flying. All right. Well, let's move on to some of your pictures here.
I'd love to see some of Mauricio's pictures from that height.
That would be nice.
I mean,
Maybe-
on that
maybe-
note, don't you have an announcement to make, Mauricio?
An announcement. What announcement?
Well, there was a Twitter. Somebody you posted a Twitter, and somebody posted back on Twitter. Do you remember
Yeah, I heard
that?
you were going on a flyover, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really want to get too much into it, but I think Jared, I don't think he replied to my tweet where I asked if I can go on a fly along with him. This might have been about a week and a half ago. And he replied, yes. So I'm in contact with them. Not sure when that flyover is going to happen. The flyover on one of the Alpha jets. I presume it's going to be over Starbase. So I'll keep you guys on the loop on that when I hear back.
Well, that'd be sick, man.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, I'm so jealous. You know
So
what?
does that-
I'm just excited. If I ever get to go down there, I want to fly with you, Mauricio. That'd be great for me.
I was curious,
Right.
would he actually go with you in the Cessna ever? I mean, I think that would be a really cool flight.
I
with
don't
him.
know. Would you get an old
say both.
Volkswagen Bug versus a Ferrari that you
Okay.
you have the Ferrari? I mean,
Yeah, he'd probably fall asleep, I imagine.
I have a heart. My heart goes to the Bug, though. I'd be with the Volkswagen for sure. The Vanagon.
yeah, but it's a
That's
little
what I
bit
learned to drive
old,
on.
rickety, and cramped versus cramped and
Nothing wrong with
fast.
a little old and rickety, my friend. Ain't nothing wrong.
True. Okay. Well, let's move along here. So we do have a great view from Highway 4 of Starbase. This is one of those interesting ones. Approximately how far off from Starbase are you here in order to get a shot like this?
I want to say this about 2 miles away, 2 or 3 miles away, approximately. Just because if you zoom in, you can actually see the heat distortion. There's a lot of artifacts between me and the camera, so it's not that it's out of focus. It's just that.
Well, I mean that or the boosters are getting really wrinkly in their age. I don't think that would be the case here. It's the heat distortion.
Yeah, as you start moving
Enough
along
of
the
the age.
pictures, I start getting closer to the site.
But
The
that's pretty
important
neat.
thing for this picture is that we now have a new tallest building in Boca Chica, and probably
Yep.
tallest in South Texas by a few feet now, right?
At least yeah.
No,
There's
wait,
a,
I'm sorry. The
Well,
tower.
you do have that integration tower over there, which I think might top it a little bit.
Just a
well,
little
this is like a building that people are supposed to be in, not
Occupied
work
structure?
on. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to the buildings, but this is a
This-
really good shot of everything, and like you can see all of the just the nature in front of it as well. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the tallest structure just because of the Sapphire, which is in South Padre Island. That one's about 30 some stories high, so it's a bit taller than this one right here.
Yeah, the integration tower I think beats that by a little bit. So, anyways, we'll get to that as well here in due time. So, just a quick overview of everything we have here. We've got Booster 4, Ship 15, the test stand, structural test stand for max Q testing, Booster 6 or what's left of it, SN2. Then we have this crane right here. We named Biggie because that's basically the company that owns that. We have this crane back there. That's going to be, what is it? I can't remember all of a sudden.
Bucky. That would be
Bucky. Yes.
Yeah, it's a Buckner LR 11,000.
And of course, we got Widebay just topping off there with the fifth segment, the first of the fifth segment. Then we've got back over here, you can see low bay, high bay, and then of course mid bay down here. And then we've got all sorts of other goodies like Ship 21, as well as all the tents. So the tents go 1, 2, 3, and then it looks like it to be a fourth tent over the far left. And then this was tent 4, but now I think it's going to be tent 5. That's just that little white area there.
So one more thing I like about that picture is that it gives a real clear indication of how tall the booster is compared to the wide bay and just why they needed that. You can see it's, there's a little bit of perspective issues there, but that is a booster on a transport stand. And you can see it would barely fit under the top level of the high bay, and they were really having to squeeze it in. Now with the Widebay, they've got some room for error or margin for comfort.
Yeah, just kind of looking at this top line there. That's this was super close. we were measuring it down to like we were plus or minus 1 meter depending on what kind of stands they were using, what type of load spur they're using in Highbay when they were working on booster 1, and then they took off a ring, so that helped.
Part of me kind of wondered if they took off that ring to fit it in a little bit more easily.
Maybe. So some other good shots here that are a little bit more zoomed in. So I think did you drive along the road again and just take out some more shots the different locations, or were you just zooming in even more with like a 2x teleconverter there?
No, it's I was just taking photos, driving up a couple of 100 yards, taking more photos, and
Nice. So you've got the elevator here for Highbay. Probably going to get some more of those. We've got, of course, Booster 5. This one's going to be 15, 16. They did take off the covers, and we'll see more of that later on, but they did appear to take them off of Booster 5, switch them out with Booster 4, and then stuck the spares down here, so we'll take a look at those. Interesting story about that concrete pad that SN2 is on. They did move it over from behind where now is going to be tent 4, that they moved that over here. And they moved the concrete structure and everything, but they did do it in 2 pieces. So this is a water tank. It's been used for quite a while. It was originally just a test tank, but it's one of the oldest articles around here still. You've got your methane electric generators over here, so 13.1 megawatts. This is pretty much, I think, as a backup power. Would you agree, or would you think that they're changing that out, Golden Boy, for just additional power supply for their LOX generation, which is going to be over here on the
I'm not really sure on that one. I've kind of been wondering what they do with those tanks. I haven't looked into it too much. I've really been waiting for a lot of serious groundwork to start over there, and I haven't really paid as much attention to the actual tanks that are over there. They ever since they moved SN2 over there. Actually, is it connected now, or is it still just sitting there?
So looks like it's just kind of sitting there so far, but the pad is looks like it's going to be permanent there. So they did work on the grounds before they brought over this concrete structure. This was one of the 2. So this was the second one that they had. Then they just cut it up and brought it over. The first one was the one that SN2 was on originally. They got rid of that one.
Well, you can actually see that pipe that goes up to the on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it is connected to something on the ground. Maybe we'll be able to see it in an aerial.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to see where that's going. Got some more electrical boxes in there. They're going hog wild on electrical boxes everywhere for all of the different elements that they're doing over at Sanchez. So there is just plenty happening. There's lots of stuff in here. Looks like a lot of scaffolding. Of course, you just have lots of just everything. Odds and ends, but yeah, this is the scaffolding here, all of that. And then we've got a couple of stainless steel rolls, so some pet rocks. They've got plenty of those hanging around. You can see we've got our favorite Grover back there. He's got his megalift booms up, and he's ready to say score. So there's been a little bit of news and action on these. So I kind of am thinking about these a little bit differently. Originally, we're looking at these as absorption columns. They did take off the tarps, and I'm expecting a lot more manhole covers underneath, and there weren't any. It's pretty clean. So there's a couple of manholes, which still it could be an absorption column, but it might just be vertical tanks. And they removed one of them just the other day. Any speculation on why they moved it out of Sanchez?
Well, I'm thinking go ahead. You're more of the expert on absorption tanks.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
So the first thing I was suspecting was, well, they might be moving operations to the Cape to get ready there. but I think a more likely thing would be that they're taking it to a nearby factory for refitting or getting it ready for installation. That was my 2 ideas.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that we didn't see any pictures of them once they left the site. So, I mean, we saw them with Raptor Roost Cam, Lab Padres Raptor Roost Cam. We saw them leaving, and I believe there may still be one parked outside of the Sanchez site waiting to leave. But we didn't see where they went, and I haven't seen anybody post pictures of them in Brownsville or on the highway or anything like that. So I'm kind of wondering if they're just at the Macy's gun range. Yeah, they could be either storing them there temporarily, actually potentially building a facility over there, or they could have left. I don't know. I mean, I think we may get lucky on the next flyover and find out whether or not they're there, and that'll kind of answer a lot of questions. They could possibly move them down to Florida because if they, whatever plans that they had for this year, as far as needing to constantly be bringing in massive amounts of fuel in order to have a high cadence of launching, and I don't think they're going to be doing that, and they've kind of, to some degree, admitted that most of their their launches are going to come out of Kennedy Space Center. So, with that being said, these may be of more use to them down there, where they can actually make use of the high volume that you're going to be putting through this.
So I just looked at a video real quick from Jessica Kirsch, and it does show it going down, I believe, Highway 48 here. So it basically came over all the way from Sanchez and all the way around. It just went down here and then up through up.
Well, the port access road is open now, so it should have crossed the.
I don't know if there's a bridge on the port though. So it would probably just maybe come over here and then go around, but it was working its way down. Looks like Highway 48. So that was interesting to get that spotted so quickly. Thank you for that, Swirl Sport.
I was thinking if they did park it at Macy's and they were to build a facility there, that it is on the same side of the road, so they would avoid the right-of-way issues, and they could do a purification plant and run a straight line from Macy's to the launch site.
Yeah, so this is Macy's right here, just right off of Highway 4. Just a couple stones throw away from the Sanchez site. So Sanchez is up here, Macy's down here. Really simple, but I do think it would make sense to actually do it down there, away from anything else. It separates them from any other issues, and it gives them a lot more storage and working space at that's the Sanchez site. Really, they'll be able to do a lot more there. So.
Hey, Thomas, we got a super chat from Jim Cabot for $5. He says, thanks, guys and gal. Love the streams and the photos.
Dude, thank you so much, Jim.
Thanks,
All
Jim.
right.
Appreciate it.
Oh, those heat shield tiles. Looks like they didn't work so well on 15 after the fact. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Did they come in broken after they landed, or were they broken before they flew?
I don't remember those being broken before.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, neither do I. So I think they may have just been like, hey, how well do these take the pressure? I think 21 that they've been intentionally working on breaking tiles there. So perhaps there's something they're doing here as well. But all it takes is a boom lift and a little bit of time. So wow, there's a lot more conduit pipe running around here. So it looks like elbows. Looks like maybe 90-degree elbows or straight runs. I can't exactly tell.
They may have taken those tiles down just for inspection as well to see how they held up.
Well, the thing is they do break when you take them off because you have to use a drill to release them from the studs.
Yeah, unless you drill from the back.
Well, that would work.
There's our favorite air separation unit, taking all the air and converting it into oxygen, nitrogen, and argon.
Okay, so a little bit more of these units. It looks like they You got them kind of while they were just moved, or just before they were moved out for that one that was on this side.
One
But,
thing I'm interested about seeing from the aerial perspective is, did they take all of the apparatus that surrounded them as well? They had a lot of equipment right next to them that was in support of these units. So if that equipment's still there, perhaps the tanks will come back. And
Yeah,
we shall
so
see.
just real quick, here is what we were talking about. Here's all the junk that was surrounding them. They had to move all of this out of the way in order to gain access to these. So there is a little bit of a path here, but they needed to move all of this out as well. So they were kind of busy back there, and this is probably was all sitting there because of the presentation. They kind of just stuffed everything in the closet, or under the rug, so to speak, in order to make things get appear to be a bit cleaner. And it doesn't seem very well organized, but they've got people who that is their job to find stuff and find places for things. So quick note on these two large cylindrical columns. These are for the vacuum Raptors for the puck shucking for the vac wraps as a stand-in or a pseudo replacement there. So you put the hydraulic rams, which are nearby. I just don't see them in here. Right on top of these, and they'll do all the rest of it. And would you look at that in the corner?
Yeah,
we do see the new one.
I actually owe Mauricio an apology. I thought he didn't get a picture of that. So we did get an angle of it. So this is the booster transport stand that we mentioned last week.
Transport number 3?
Yeah, I call it a SHTS 3. So super heavy transport stand 3. Really easy to say quickly, kind of flows off the tongue. But yeah, that transport stand is what is needed in order to stack booster 7. And right now it looks like they have all of the, I don't know what you want to call them, receivers for the actual clamps themselves. I can see one of them has an actual clamp in it. On the right side, you can see there's no light shining through it.
That one?
Yeah, there's one. I believe there's one on the other side as well.
Well, okay, so this one, it's just the angle is you were seeing
that one's hollow.
Yeah, it's hollow, but we're seeing the back side. There could be a plate in there, but I should expect to see the hydraulic mechanism attached with it. They seem to be doing that before they actually stick it in there. So it's all pretty much one piece. I think they are really close to getting this out there for booster 8 and booster 7 and 8.
Oh, if you can go back to the aerial shot, I think this one may actually be a little different than the others. So
Zach, I want to say we'd agreed that it was the super powerful orbital rocket transport, or sport for short. I'm gonna call it sport.
I just did the BTS, the booster transport stand, so it's bits. That sounds good.
Yeah, that works too. I like that. I like all of those, actually.
It just takes some bits to move it.
Some bits. So if you look at that transport stand, actually, if you zoom in up to the right,
I got my tool out
by the booster.
Well, here's the actual stand right here, and you'll notice that you don't have a lot of the parts that you need. I'm not really seeing many of the elements here, and they I think came in just in the truck, probably 3 or 4 days after this was taken.
Yeah, Starship Gazer caught them as they were bringing in the receivers. I don't know what you want to call them. I need to find a better term for those. So if you go up right by the booster and zoom in, you can see near that frame over there. If you guys follow me on Twitter, no, on the left side.
This one right
There's
here?
the 3, right there on the ground. Those 3 little frames. So those are actually quick disconnects for starships. So on the transport stand that Ship 20 is currently on, it has a quick disconnect, and it allows them to both transport the ship on that stand and pressurize it as they're rolling down the highway, and also to do cryo testing on that staging pad. So every single Starship transport stand is going to have those from now on, because they're now dual purpose stands. And if you scroll down just a little bit, you can see one of the Starship stands that's nearing completion. It's probably about at the same stage as the booster one is right now. And if you look up again back at those QDs, you see that huge H shape right over there. Yeah. So I believe that that is a booster QD. That will be the first QD to go on that transport stand. And on the bottom right, there's another one right there. So I imagine they're getting ready to put those together.
What does the
Into
So
H
a
on
QD.
frame? Sorry, I just was curious what the H frame means. That means
It,
booster?
it's
It's
the
just shaped
QD.
like an H.
So it's
Understood.
part of the QD mechanism that it goes backwards and forwards into the vehicle. So the
Okay.
pipes and things are running through it
Mhm.
to the booster quick disconnect. I would say
Mhm.
that one for sure.
I don't
This
think
one,
they'd be in the inside because it's a lot of pipes. They're very large. It's going to look like a mini version of the one on the launch mount. You know what I mean? It's going to be pretty aggressive looking.
I see
Right.
part of the cage for it right there as well. So this
So
is
then,
the
That could be part of it, but I think that one.
that was be Starship.
Yeah,
I
I think
think.
that's the Starship one. Yeah.
but going back to the H one, that means that there's potentially going to be a hood as well, like there is on the launch mount?
No, it's not launching anything off of there, so there's no
Right.
reason to.
It would be a
put
manual quick disconnect, so it's actually a slow quick disconnect.
Okay.
Actually, I just noticed this part right here where it looks like a load spreader, and maybe it's a load spreader on top of a ring that is basically looks like has some interesting elements to it. It's got 6 as if it's for a Starship here. Golden Boy, you're hot micing or echoing there a little bit.
I'm very interested in them using the transport stands for cryogenic testing. Also, because as part of at least the first couple of dozen tests, I imagine they'll want to do static fires before every launch of the upper stage. Now, with the Falcon, you can't do a static fire of the second stage normally, or if you do that prior to integration. But with the booster, you're always going to static fire that before the orbital launch. So it may save some time, but with the Falcon 9, they do usually do a static fire prior to launch, and then they integrate.
All right, so we do have some questions coming in. Do you want to go through those now?
Sure. I would think that was normal too, GPJ, for them to do the static fire every time they're about to do a launch, but that's me.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of questions. This one is from the beginning. Doug W asks, can you fly the Cessna between the starships like Jared? Mauricio, is that even possible?
Yes, I actually did that. When was it? Like an hour ago? On the flight simulator?
Yes, yes. Absolutely right.
It is entirely possible as long as Mauricio or any pilot is granted, I believe it's an air show exemption, and everyone agrees to it, including SpaceX.
So you're saying only Jared Isaacman?
No, just anybody SpaceX allows to.
Works for me. So we have another question from Keith Tay. He asks, do you think a lifting bridge or swing bridge will be built from SP1 to Boca Chica? SPI? SP1.
SPI, South Padre Island.
Oh, thank you. Haha.
I personally am hoping for a tunnel, but
he's asking if there'll be a lifting bridge or a swing bridge that'll be built from the SPI to Boca Chica Beach.
It would be too big for a swing bridge. There is quite a gap there for it to go from one side to the other. It'd be very expensive to do. The tunnel thing is also an idea that has come across as what if they built a tunnel from either South Padre Island or Port Isabel or any of those areas to allow traffic to go without going over the canal. They just go under the canal and either use Teslas or if it's at South Padre Island, maybe even just foot traffic, so that people can get to the north end of the beach and that they can reduce the issues with the closures on the north end of the beach. People do love to fish along those the canal and then the jetties there, as well as just that end of the beach. So it's a way of potentially mitigating some of those issues that they have with the closures here.
So I think one of the fairest compromises would be to have a ferry, because it's relatively cheap. It services that amount of traffic volume. It can be run timely, and seems like a fair way to get everyone access to the beach. Zach?
Yeah, I just want to mention, thank everybody for being here. We have about 300 in here. Everybody, make sure you throw a like on the stream and subscribe if you haven't already. I know most of you guys are some regulars, so thank you for being here. It's good to see all of those green names in the chat. And again, we're going over ground pictures today, and we do have the ability to pull up other images in order to kind of show you guys and answer these kind of questions, as Thomas is doing right now. But we also do have a ton of images. We have about 160 of them to go through. So if you guys want to get through them in that time, then we will try to keep the questions related to the pictures that we're seeing, so that Thomas doesn't have to do as much work in the background to.
Well, here's a quick measurement for you. There, you're looking at about over 2,600 feet from point to point from that side. You wouldn't go to the beach from one side of the beach to the other. It would be along in here. So a bridge would be potentially possible, but you now have to build a lot more to the infrastructure. So I just wanted to get that question wrapped up there.
I think at one point Elon tweeted something in that sense. I think Grandpa Joe mentioned a ferry. I think that's what they had in mind, but nothing facilitated.
Elon also asked if he could build a tunnel there, and I think the mayor was like, let's talk.
Yeah, so they did openly ask about that to say if we'd like to do it, but specifically SpaceX would have to pay for it. They would have to do it, and basically it sounded like the county and the Brownsville and everybody else, South Padre Island, said, we won't pay for it, but we'll approve it if you do it. So
sounds like a fair compromise.
Yeah, so let's get back to a couple of these images here, and then we'll take another question or two, and then we can move along on that. So really quick, we've got booster 6 here. This is basically just kind of scrap at this point, but they might be able to use it for some other testing, like some structural tests, like with the can crusher. Who knows? This is the one that I've been just confused on for the longest while. It's like this was a booster transport stand, but it was not a transport stand. It's really odd. It's really old, but it is a similar style, but it's not the same. I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this particular element here.
Maybe it was a prototype? I mean, is this new?
This is kind of new in the sense that we are seeing it more now, but it was in the flyovers last week, and I just was very confused about it. So it's this guy back here. So they moved this segment out of the way, but it is this one right here that we're seeing. So it is a shorter element, but it has these.
Perhaps it had the lower profile just so it could work in the Highbay, and it's missing the hydraulics and a lot.
Oh yeah, it's missing everything, and this is all very manual and rusted. It's like this has been sitting somewhere, and we didn't really notice it until recently. So it could be that it was something else that we were like, oh yes, of course, it was for that. I mean, it does actually look to be about the 9-meter diameter too. So this is the current size of the transport stand for boosters. This is that 9-meter diameter that we see for starships. So yeah, this is an odd one to me. So anyways, just a quick one to try to go through and understand. I think there was there additional stuff that you wanted to point out in the aerial shot on this particular subject, GB?
No, I think that was one of the only things. We kind of covered most of this last week. I didn't mention that transport stand during the last live stream, so I wanted to kind of touch base on it now.
Yep, it is a useful item. They need it for Booster 7 or Booster 8. They are popping with the boosters here. So I just love to see the tourists and everybody down there. It just warms my heart to see that. This is probably the funniest. Is it this one, or I guess a little bit later on? There's another picture here. This one.
Booster for sale.
Starship for sale. I don't know if that was on purpose or accident, Mauricio. What did you do this on purpose?
It was intentional.
Okay.
I left out the E though, but It was intentional.
I got most of the. It's readable. So booster, it's for sale.
So
Oh, that's awesome.
Elon has mentioned that if anyone would like to take one of these as a lawn ornament, it's free. You just have to pay for transportation.
Free, but you must pay shipping and handling.
That's right. Shipping and handling would be quite costly.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be local to afford one of these, and you have to be able to have enough to do something with it. But yeah, it's still kind of just a nice lawn ornament, and they're going to have plenty more soon. This is probably one of the ones where it's like it didn't do anything. They're not sentimental about it. Okay, so going back to the previous image because I kind of skipped over some images here. This is the kind of the strangest thing that they have right now that it just doesn't do anything. It was like they were going to do boosters on the test stands, and that was going to be the thing that they wanted to do. These are able to be manually released from the segment below. This is basically acting as a jig. From my understanding, these were originally going to be a booster transport stand, and it had these other parts and elements, but then it got used for the test stand for max Q testing of nose cones, and so that is why it has these little spots like that stick out right there. But yeah, they've never used it for, I believe, the intended purpose of a transport stand for boosters or otherwise. It just was built and overbuilt and overly complicated and wasn't needed. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stairs there, by the way. Those are going to be probably for Widebay. That is so funny. I love that. That is good composition, Mauricio. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like Mauricio knows what he's doing out there.
Oh, I know. I just love it. This is the can crusher right here. So back May or so, we figured out that what this was going to be and what it was going to do based off of some simple elements. We realized that it was going to be hydraulic in the sense that there was these weird pins that were sticking out, and there's 20 of them, and we're figuring, okay, this has to be for boosters because the only thing that has 20 on those is boosters out, or 20 on the Raptors. And it basically, all it does is pulls down with the what I call the top hat in order to achieve a pressure down onto the article. So it crushes it, and we did crush 2.1.
The one test they did on that to crush, have they ever had, if that was considered a failure, have they ever retested or had a successful test of that one?
They did not test it after it crushed it. It was just 2.1, so I think they did several tests. But I believe it was around December 18th was the first test that they used, or that we could see that they used it. There was a lot of water coming out of this up here. So this is the top hat, or that's what I call it. This is the part that is the element that they put your cables around to pull down. So originally I thought they were going to be using like Kevlar, or then I thought they were going to use steel, but they used just polypropylene ropes or things similar to that. It was
a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, and it was really well done. They do have a lot of fishing industries and other industries that use that stuff around here, so they got the best guys to do it. It was just
all right. Let's roll through some pictures. We got a lot.
Yep. So first off, we've got a picture of Widebay. This is the top section that they're going to actually add a little bit more. So this is an indicator that we're going to see just a bit more off of this. I believe it'll be about 8 to 12 feet.
Similar to Highbay?
Yeah, so similar to Highbay. I guess that image didn't load properly. That's strange. Had it working earlier.
It's all white screens from here on out.
Yeah, but this would be the general image of what we're supposed to be seeing here. So this is the Widebay, and this is the top part that we were mentioning before. So it is an extremely tall building, and will be taller even still. So there's going to be, I think, about 8 to 12 feet, just like on Highbay over here. It's very similar on that structure. So they have finished off at least this part of the Highbay, which is just a nice balcony with glass. it kind of scares me, the fact that it is glass, and it just, wow, that's one of those crazy parts. But here's a problem that they need to fix: the rain gutter. It needs to be diverted over here, then go down, so it's not blocking a window. It's just, that would be weird to have that blocked right here.
Yeah, the other
That's
thing to
actually,
mention about this is that balcony, that's how you get from one side of it to the other side. So
Yeah.
if it is raining and you need to get to the other side, then you're going to have to walk by that gutter. So you got to really choose how bad you want to get to that elevator, or if you're going to take the stairs.
But did you notice that they covered the floor? We were looking at the glass floor before and wondering if they were going to keep it glass. And
Well,
they
it was
didn't.
just, we thought it was glass floor because we couldn't see anything. We were
No,
wondering
because we
if
could
they
see
put
through
down
it.
glass. Yeah, there was no floor there at all. That was the
Oh.
trick.
You're saying so what I thought was glass wasn't actually glass. Got it.
Yeah, because we could see through it and it was just non-existent. But yeah, so this is the other end of that pipe that they just need to divert it over, down, and then over, and then back. Actually, probably down this way, so that they can get rid of water off the roof and not fill up a swimming pool accidentally as a balcony.
I do see a support beam right behind there, so I don't think it would impede anybody's view if they just dropped it right on through.
Yeah, this right here, or if is that a support beam on this side?
I think so.
Because I think it's further in. I'm having a hard
Anyway,
time
enough
keeping that.
about rain spouts. We're here for rockets.
Well, it's all the fun little details you get to
I
notice,
know.
like stairs. Oh, I love the stairs.
You do love the
They're-
stairs. I think anything with ladders and stairs and climbing, you are a big fan of.
Yes, I do.
This is a great photo,
Good
by
old
the way.
Remedios.
Yep.
Yeah. Good old Remedios Road.
Right?
Yeah. So you can walk down this road, but there are plenty of signs. Basically, you can't cross from this road past the signs, or I would say even after the shoulder. Don't go anywhere to the left or really to the right, because those are SpaceX properties. There is some additional properties over here that are not SpaceX, as well as this one. This one, it says for sale. But yeah, it's somebody actually did call them about it, and they said, oh, it's actually not for sale anymore, but we are still taking highly interested parties or something, and it was just like backup offers, I think. So we'll see what they do there.
One important thing to note is you mentioned the signs, the no trespassing signs.
Yep.
Actually, it got really windy. I believe it was on Wednesday, Thursday. Or actually, no, I was there yesterday, and one of the signs flew away. So even if you don't see a sign, just
Wow.
be mindful of where the property might start or end. You can see the signs there, but on the other street, the one that turns right towards the Widebay, that's where one of the signs flew off.
Oh,
So-
that's the really scary one, because you don't know where the property line is. Where this one, it's easier to tell. There's a road here, but this one, you're going from towards the Widebay and Highbay. If you don't see the sign, don't go any further, because you may have already passed it. So this is an area that only really pros, as far as photographers, I think, go down, because it is kind of like, hey, you're about to get talked to by security or the police, or both. So don't go down this one if you can.
Right.
Well, and I think Mauricio's position is perfect because you get to see everything, and that's what you want.
Mm-hmm. You're not going to get a really good view from the road or anywhere else without a good camera or telescope or lens of any kind. That you have to have something. It's got some old motors in here, as well as maybe spackle or paint. I can't tell what those are, but plenty of stuff that just kind of sits around. And they are hiring people to help mitigate rust. But I did see this rebar here, and was actually very excited about this, because it's like, oh, this is big. This means they're actually going to be doing concrete pads about this thick or a little bit thicker than this. So I'm thinking that's about 8 or 9 inches, probably closer to 9 inches in height. Don't have any good references, just the rebar itself.
Yeah, those look similar to the ones that they use for the staging pads, or not the staging pads, the display stands. They've kind of been moved around a few times in Sanchez, and they've also recently created a new a new display stand over there. So I imagine there's going to be a whole bunch of them in there. Just gotta have a place to park all your starships.
So
I
they
like
have
the
a
way you
lot
said
of
that.
scaffolding. Wow.
Got
And they're
park-
organized. This is either coming in or out. Sorry, say that again, Indian
No,
Star?
I was just enjoying what GB said. When he said he liked the place to park all of our starships. Made me giggle. Sorry, you were saying?
Oh no, it's fine. It's just they've got a lot of scaffolding. It's scaffolding going in or going out. So a lot of things are happening. They need room for things like that. For Widebay, they're building stairs. So you'll see stuff like this just for the stairs or for other platforms that they will be using for Widebay as they are constructing it. But yeah, speaking of stairs, more stair parts. These are just railings and the actual steps here. Yeah, this one I have the hardest time figuring out what this will be for. All I can say is that they're going to have a ladder here because this looks like it's for like a walking platform from this side to the other side. So the thing is all on its side anyways. So it looks a bit more like that. So you would come up this way and then there is a platform or just an area to walk on.
What do you think that'll be used for, Zach?
I really
Yeah,
have no ideas on that one, honestly. It's too early in its development. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've got no
I think
idea
we
on
should
this one.
let's move on to the build side. I think we got a lot of people who want to see the what's actually changed and
I'm thinking it's going to be a lot like these structures, but yeah, well, we're about to get there, so we're moving
I
along.
want to pause on one close-up shot of the ships. You'll know which one I'm talking about.
Which one?
Keep going.
Okay.
One more. That one.
Yeah, that's 6 point. Probably going to be 6.1 or something. Lots of weights.
That's the one. Man, look at that beauty shot.
This is a really wide angle. What kind of lens are you using on this one, Mauricio?
There's a wide angle lens. I want to say between, I think the highest is like 24 millimeters, but it's 12 by 24, I believe. So I
Wow.
used 3 different lenses for these photos. It's a 12 by 24, and then we got a 70 to 300 and the 200 by 600 millimeters.
Looks like the 3 big starships are about to bully the little starship. Either that or this
That's
is the
funny.
cover of my next rap album.
Okay, we've got the new parking lot, or really the for the Airstreams. So that little, basically RVs or not RVs, just campers almost for employees. But the AstroTurf is looking good, and they've even got Starlink, so they're all set up.
That's all you need to survive down there. AstroTurf and Starlink.
Yeah, some more good views of Widebay. So this is the area that they're going to be building, I believe, Tent 4. So it's still under progress. There's a lot of conduits, electrical, and other plumbing needs, and I think it's going to be needing a lot of water drainage too. So Booster 5, this is after they've removed the elements, so you get to see a little bit more of what it looks like on the inside, and they did remove, looks like a HPU right here. So I think they were deciding to reuse that because it's still good for the current builds. So which cone is this, or ring is this? Do we know? I was looking at this earlier and I couldn't figure it out because it just is a 4-ring stack for a booster or potentially even a starship. Just which one is the hard one?
Yeah, that really could be for any one of them. Could be. I've seen Brendan label this as being part of 25, even possibly.
Interesting.
But it's still early in development, so no telling yet.
I'm just looking for like any sign of a label anywhere too. I do see a little bit of writing, but I think that's for the weld. So every little label we capture, it's always very useful. So this is another part of the build site. But yeah, here's a huge part of their operations is actually cooling down the tents. They are temperature controlled. When you do the welds, I think they're doing about 32 degrees Celsius consistently, so that you do not have thermal expansion contraction of the rings in the tents. So you're not having the issue of the one ring being too big and one being too small when they've been welded. You don't want to have any weird divots or bumps or things like that. And this is going to be the big part. They're even using, I think, Train, I've seen as a supplier for part of their air handling units. And would you look at that? More stairs. So, my favorite little ladder right there.
Ladder to the stairs.
Yes. Then, of course, behind all of that, another way to move up and down is the elevator right here. So you've got the work platform that goes on top. This is the actual one you go inside of, and then you go out on the other side. Then, yeah, you go up and down the elevator, and that's just for Highbay. In front of Highbay, we do have the new, looks like, reception area that's being built, wheelchair accessible, everything to go to the top of Highbay. This is not reused material. It looks like it's brand new. And then they're going to cut off the siding at the end here so that they can do the roof. But that's cool as a building technique. Just throw on the siding. And our favorite rover, not rover, Rover.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a Grove crane, but that's pretty good. These are the mega lift wings, and it is a beast of what it can do. We can basically do anything we need to with this guy almost, but it has to be smaller stuff. But this is the road that we were talking about. That I think the sign had blown over. So this is the end of the line here. If you are willing or dangerous enough to actually go up to the property line, this is as far as you should ever proceed, no further, because they will talk to you otherwise.
Over on the right-hand side, they have a little landing platform behind that last truck that you can stand there pretty easily. I will say on my last visit down in for Halloween, that whole structure was one level tall, and here it is all the way almost to the full height. It's pretty crazy how fast they build down there.
You're talking about Widebay. That is incredibly fast. And it looks like it'll be about 90% complete sometime at the end of March here. So
end of March or end of February? Like in 2 weeks or in 6 weeks?
End of March is what I think the current projection would be, about 90% complete. So there's other elements that they'll be using here. So it'll be interesting.
Nice. We also
the last
just got
10% is the hardest.
We also just got a super chat from Jay Quellen. She's donating $5, and she says, "You know why?" GB, do you know why?
I do not. I think it's just because she appreciates the great stream. Oh, and also the captions. I think do we have captions enabled this time as well too?
Yes, we do.
That is why.
Thank you, Jake Quellen.
And thank you, Mauricio, for making sure we got the captions today. I do know that we do have a audience that is hearing impaired as well that does love starships. So thank you for that.
Or if we just want to mute it and read what we're saying. Sometimes that's better too.
Yep.
Somebody asked if there's going to be Portuguese captions. I'm not really sure how to do that.
Auto translate does sometimes work, but not perfectly. So that's the best we can do. If you do have a want to give the closed captioning a try and translate it, you could probably get on Discord or send a direct message to anybody here with RGV to get additional closed captions for other languages. So this is ship 21. I'm pretty sure they took a sledgehammer or a baseball bat or maybe some testing implements really to press on the tiles and break them intentionally. This was in mid-bay. Before it went in mid-bay, it had perfectly useful tiles, and then it came out looking like this. These are all the breaks in the tiles. They've marked approximately the direction that the breaks have occurred. And the other part was down here. It went in mid-bay, came back out, and then this got worse. So this was a while back. So I'm pretty sure 21 very much toast on that.
It owed somebody some money. All right. Well, I think we've covered Ship 21 a number of times. Let's skip on over to the next booster there.
All right, sounds good.
Thomas loves himself a pano.
Yeah, well, it's got to
can't
be
help it.
shown. So these are really good. Thank you so much. I'm just going in the order of the pictures taken here, so
And
it is
believe-
chronological in that sense.
the panos are also available for those people who subscribe, who are either Patreon members or YouTube members. They can get these panos just specifically for them, I believe, right? Mauricio?
Oh, nice.
Yes, I'll go ahead and just upload these up to a Dropbox folder and have them available for download for you guys.
So another quick question: was there a temporary time that we will give the chat out here a chance to grab a pano or a background picture that will be available for them? I heard a no in the background from Crowded Show. That was perfect.
There's your answer.
There we go.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
There,
Well, look at
and
that.
there's that. Yeah, it's almost got a ladder built into it. If you go to the next picture, it's even closer. There you go.
Well, yeah. So I'm actually first off looking at the first piece right here. We've got
Oh.
a common dome section with ship.
Ullage. With Ullage thrusters at that.
Yeah. Got the huge thrusters. You've got the vertical stringers of the common dome. This is, I believe, S8. B8. So you can see that they've got the style down, that they do have these stringers in the methane tank separated about this much, which these are the consistent size and style for the LOX tank. So the LOX tank needs to hold up all of the methane tank and so on.
So
yeah.
because I subscribed to at CSI Starbase, I was able to read into the deep dive of the differences between Booster 4 and Booster 8 and 7. They have longer stringers at the common dome on the outside, as well as many other improvements. Shout out to my guy, Zach.
I wonder where he is. Zach, do you know who Zach is?
It's a mystery. He's a man
Yeah.
about town.
Guess that's why the CSI we're still looking for Zach.
Sorry about that, guys. I had to step away for a second.
That was fine.
So what do you think the little ladder steps on the outside of that are?
These are for the raceway. They're not actually ladders. They're to attach the conduit and wiring and everything else along the raceway, so that you have a easy system to attach to. That way, you're not drilling holes into the vehicle itself, because that would be bad. They just weld these little pieces on the outside, and then they will be able to put a system on directly. So it's very easy.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, that works out really well. These are going to both be, as you can see, this one back here and this one here are both lock sections of Booster 8. So Booster 8 is also being built in Highbay very quickly now. So
And
we're going to have...
You can tell the it's the locks because of the distance between the stringers is being closer together as it holds more weight.
Yep. And then the only other thing that you kind of notice is that they will have 2 ring sections with stringers. So this is all one stringer here, and then this is another stringer here, but they will add additional elements to connect those stringers together, and that's where you have this interesting welding going on here. You can see on the outside.
And is it all stringers,
cool.
or is it just the stringers for the locks because it's heavier?
So this is all stringers. So basically, this would be a stringer. This is not. This is a stringer,
Right.
and so on and so
But
forth.
you said
So
the additional support that they put on the stringers, would it
Yep,
only be for the welds that are for the LOX tank for these?
no,
Or is it-
for all of every stringer that you have that you're trying to connect together, including when they connect the, let's say the methane section to the lock section, common dome, they will do this element where they put these stringers. It's basically like a C-shaped stringer that has lightning holes, but the structure itself allows for the additional stringer to be placed on top, so it's now very solid and rigid to the system, and not allowing the stringers to slip or whatever. So this is perfect for that.
All right, now might be a great time to pause then and ask Miss Indian Star if she has any questions for us.
There was a question, but it has to do with boosters and the heat shield design, and I wasn't sure if you wanted to hear the question now or a little bit
Uh,
later.
yeah, I think we're looking at a booster, and we can discuss that.
Let's
Okay,
go
so
for it.
the question's from Mayush. He asks, now that the future boosters will have Raptor 2s, will SpaceX need to change the heat shield design for the Raptors or not? What do you guys think?
I think I can take this one. So the Raptor 2 is part of the booster, and the heat shield that goes on the outside of the Starship is completely disconnected from the power plant, the Raptors. So there's no real reason to change anything there with the heat shield. Also, whenever you look at the booster, it is so far away from the heat shield tiles that there's much more room for cushion to allow any change and disruptions in terms of volume or force to not impact the Starship. Now, once you do stage separation and you have the ignition of the Raptor 2s for the Starship, there may be some interaction there, but once again, it's on the inside of the skirt and should not greatly impact the heat shield tiles. Now, if you're talking about the skirting, the heat shielding in the skirt section under the booster, there is an impact. So Raptor 1 has a lot of delicate parts, sensors, small cables, small wires that run on the outside of the engine, and they have to do a lot of shielding for debris, for sound, vibration, and heat. With Raptor 2, there's going to be a greatly diminished need for shielding and possibly even a reduction or removal of the shielding, as the Raptor 2s may in fact be almost bulletproof. And also the other improvement with Raptor 2s is that they are going to go to 33 boosters as pictured here.
This is a lovely picture, by the way, GPJ.
Thank you, thank you.
I love this Photoshop. So we go from this to this. That's excellent. I can't really tell which ones are the exact duplicates. It's
yeah,
it's pretty good. Actually, this one probably I think is a duplicate. I just realized your engine is now getting cut into. Somebody had some fun with that, and looks like a.
Yeah,
Somebody
I missed a little piece there.
Well, and they're also not in the circle, in the little divot for it, where the shield goes. You see that? Anyways, neither here nor there. I've got one more question for you. John T.
Yep.
asks, will they add the booster ring back once Widebay is in use?
Probably not. I don't think so. They decided at least for 69 meters. It sounds like.
Yeah. No, I think they might, Thomas. Yeah. I mean, Elon really does like that number, but they've done a lot of engineering design around the 70 number. It may not make a difference, but hey, every meter counts. Oh wait, I say that. I don't know that you could actually really change the height of the booster now because they've built a lot of the tower around it. That might be a strike against that idea.
But he being Elon wants to stretch the tanks. And I understood if we stretch the tanks in Starship as well as in booster, that there is a potential for needing another ring.
Mm-hmm.
So
anything's possible.
Happen.
You would, you would just have to realign the tower parts to mate back up with the ship parts. And honestly, I think SpaceX could do that in such a hurry that it would take no time at all for them, especially when compared to traditional manufacturing. Agile is the way to go.
Yep. So I'm looking for the top of the booster. Sorry about that. I'm just going through the images real quick to see if I can grab one. The only thing I can grab is the booster 5 here, which probably will be good enough to kind of answer the question a little bit more in a different way. As far as stretching the booster itself, you'd have to keep these points the same.
Right.
So this has to stay at that same place, and you would like to be able to make it structurally as far as that element to work right. So you might stretch the tank up a little bit this way, and then this top part goes up a little bit. The other element that you have to deal with is the ship QD. There's a bit that goes on with that, but they're already going to move it up about 5 feet. So what's another, what's another 6 feet between friends there?
Oh yeah. And if they go up to 70, that's only about 3 feet there, so 1 meter.
I would still just keep it as a ring. So go up 6 feet. It saves in the process of it. So you can now go to just a bit over 70 meters.
There you go.
All right. But yeah, this is great. We see all sorts of goodies here. We've got the autogenous pressurization for the locks. So this would be technically hot GOX coming in from the Raptors. They're doing the pressurization there. So GOX is gaseous oxygen. LOX is liquid oxygen, but it's creating the ullage and the back pressure for the entire vehicle. Otherwise, you start like, if you did not have this, you would basically have this as a soda can, and it would just crush. So that's an element that you don't want to have happen if you put a vacuum inside of there. You don't want that to happen, and then it would blow up.
Real quick note. So I was down at the Stennis Space Center viewing the Saturn V, which is 10 meters, and you can walk literally a foot away from it. It's pretty amazing. And while I was there, I ran across an informational infographic on ullage. And it came from the French for the empty space at the top of a bottle of wine that was left there so that as gases came off of the after fermentation, that it wouldn't pop the cork, so to say. And yep, so you leave a little bit of empty space in the ship so that the liquid has room to expand and not pop the top.
Nice. Otherwise, yeah, that makes sense. That you can't really compress a liquid. It doesn't work so well. There was one other thing to mention on this: the speed at which they're going. We've seen this multiple times. They're going to put little triangle hangers slotted into this, and then they will put the walkways and platforms off of it. So they're basically all of that will be the scaffolding, and then they'll be able to go through and weld up here from this ring up to this ring. And then they have the same thing on the inside. So you'll notice the welds, the way this looks, is the same stuff up here. So they're a little bit higher up. And the reason is you want to be able to go inside through the manhole for the methane tank. So that's where they will go through and be welding it right in here on both sides. So they need a weld on the inside and the outside. Oh, look at those ullage vents. Here's another weird thing. There's a big hole up here. It's kind of almost useless if it doesn't all go out this way. You want to work with that, but I guess it's something about pressure that they don't want the pressure to be built up in a certain way. It's my only guess of why they leave it open to the top of these ullage thrusters that they have.
But wouldn't it be the same reason that you said that the stringers, those pipes right there, those are open as well, just above it, right? From top to bottom?
So these are open because you don't need to cap them. It would be extra weight, and the strength is actually in the shape of this metal. So this is at least 4 millimeter, if not thicker, stainless steel. Might even be 301, but I think it would be 304L, but I've seen both. And they do have all of the strength in the way that this is kind of like that C shape. So it makes it very rigid. So all of the forces that go up here go beyond the common dome and all the way through to the next stringers, because there are no stringers inside. You really can't, because the dome is in the way. This is the easiest way to do it. And when this thing flies, I think it will sound like a flute whistle just because of all the stringers.
I wondered about that, actually. I will.
Yeah. I think it will. You'll probably be in South Padre Island, and you'll be able to hear a distinct whistle as it comes down.
Will it sound like, a bomb, like in the cartoons and stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's the Doppler effect plus that whistle sound that it does. So that'll be an interesting interesting sound. And then you'll hear the engine start up, and that'll be about it.
Will it do the sonic booms too?
And then it'll be then caught by the chopsticks. But yeah, it'll have sonic booms. It'll have at least
two, yeah.
At least two, yeah. So one when the vehicle goes through and is in a hypersonic profile, it'll break the speed of sound, and you'll hear that boom sound. Then you'll have the engines turn on, and you'll get some sonic booms from that as well.
Yeah, the sonic booms will also will come from the profile of the vehicle. So the engines, COPV covers, and the
Oh,
grid
wow.
fins. So there will be 3 separate ones.
Oh my goodness, so there'll be 5 total?
No, there'll be 3.
Okay.
Well, the thing is so tall too. You get some distinct different levels because of the grid fins too. There'll be some
Because they do that on the
interesting.
Falcon 9, right? The grid fins?
Yeah, the grid
Yeah.
fins, but this is even taller. So you're looking at almost 70 meters, but it's at 69 meters that your speed of sound, you'll be able to hear a slight difference potentially. Your recordings will really be able to as well. Oh, we've got a nice downcomer here. It looks like for a booster. It's pretty big, so they've got some nice ribbing as well, so that it keeps its strength and structural elements. And it's just barely tacked on. That we've seen similar stuff like this all over the place, where it doesn't need to be welded all the way through. It just needs to be welded in spots to keep that. And Mr. Pleasant, thank you for that. He says these are the anti-slosh baffles. I don't know how they could be the anti-slosh baffles if they're so small.
It may
I think
be
they're
the
really for
connection point for the anti-slash baffles. I could see that, but
yeah. But I've never seen anti-slosh baffles this small. These are more structural elements than
Yeah.
slosh. And yeah, there's the trained cooler in the background for their AC. So moving along.
The show brought to you by Train.
Probably, but
Hey,
yeah,
Ship 22, first
Yeah.
fully stacked ship since 6 months, since 16 got stacked while we were down there.
yeah. This is the Frankenrocket of all Frankenrockets. This is the nose cone of Ship 21. The skirt section down here, just this section, is this section, not this part. This is actually something else in the way, but this section down here is the skirt section of, I believe, either 23 or 25. It wasn't really saying which one it was, but regardless, it is kind of a piecemeal, and it might get the engines of Ship 20, and that will really be the icing on the cake if
Have
that
we
does
seen-
happen.
Have we seen the upskirt of 22 to see, is it can it hold Raptor 1s or is it for Raptor 2s?
So from what I've seen, it is Raptor 1s for Ship 22, at least for the center Raptors. So they still have the ones from Ship 20. Those are still useful in this sense. There might have a couple of spares here and there, but by and large, they don't have enough spares to replace too many on, let's say, Booster 4 if they have to replace a bunch. I think that whatever Raptors that they have, they'll need to replace at least 3 with either 29 or 33. It's about 3 that you'll need to replace, more or less.
And we do know that the skirt section of 22 can mate up with the top section of Booster 7, so they could be a match pair.
Yep, it could be 7 and 22 or 7 and 24, but I think 24 and 8 will go together, just the way that that one's all going to be Raptor 2s. But it's good enough for the first launch. The vacuum Raptors, from what I understand, they are still better on version 1 than they will be on version 2 as far as their thrust, but their specific impulse is not as good, so the efficiency. But version 2, they'll be much more efficient. And I'm wondering still if Ship 24 either has 3 or 6 vacuum Raptors. We never did get to see either through a flyover or during the dome flip, because all their actions were pretty much at night when we were not able to see it, and then we had fog and other things to prevent us from really being able to do much. And my goodness, this is going so fast for installing the nose cone.
So there was
wow.
a question that had to do with Booster and Starship.
Sure, go for it.
Fi was asking, how many connectors are there that connect Booster to Starship?
There's 3. There are 3 connectors on both the current 420 combination and, let's say, 722 or 724. There's still only 3 connections, but the connection style has changed. That's why you can't switch between the boosters. They decided.
I'll add one note there that there are actually 6 ports, but that's for the transport stand, not the booster to ship.
Yeah, and the test stands, they'll accept the 6 as well. So they have a hold down clamp system. You could theoretically do a hypersonic test flight with any of these vehicles as long as you get a launch license that's orbital. They will need to be able to dump a ship if they want to do hypersonic test flight in the ocean, because there's no way that we're seeing any of these land back at Boca Chica. They have no legs.
And I was kind of wondering for myself, why don't they use 6 connectors going from the booster to the ship? And then it dawned on me, from the test stand, when they're doing a static fire, it's actively trying to pull away. With the booster, it's being pushed down and almost held together that way.
Wow, this is why the panoramic shots don't load so quickly, is they're just super high definition.
Look
Oh,
at
You get
that,
all
though.
those
That
details.
is some
Oh my
detail.
Enhance.
Enhance more. I'm I could read the individual
Holy
letters,
smokes.
and wow, this is
Well
this
done,
is really
Pleasant.
good.
And
And Mauricio,
yeah, for the
yeah.
photos.
I think somebody left a fingerprint on the Starship. I see.
Funny, I keep looking for paw prints like a cat's been walking on it.
Did you notice the handprints earlier on all those ring sections we were looking at? I was clicking on them, looking up close, and it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, there's oil on these, so you can see every little dust particle collected.
Thomas, you
And this
mentioned
is in
that
the shadows.
those 4 thrusters at the top there, they're not in the new ship?
Currently, these are not showing up on Ship 24's nose cone, or what we believe to be Ship 24's nose cone. So
Interesting.
either they're trying to do Ullage thrusters, or maybe some other system, potentially hot gas RCS. We have seen that on Booster 3, and it has been a while since we talked about any of that. But the issue is you are adding about, let's see here, we've got, let's say, 12 to 14 COPVs. Each one of those COPVs weighs about 500 pounds. So we've got about 60,000 pounds or more as far as just the COPVs alone in weight. So getting rid of those is actually a huge weight savings. But the problem is you do need some way of controlling the system with an RCS. I don't know if it's going to be Ullage or what, but I would prefer whatever it is to be as light as possible. Hot gas is extremely efficient and also could be light. It is by far lighter than the current system that's being used with COPVs. But yeah, I don't know. And Ullage is one system that they are looking at using, obviously, with the current Ship 24. And currently, right now, they have set up things like this to prevent the tiles from coming off. So this is not an RCS, but just a vent port. They put this little piece on there after Ship 20 blew off its tiles, that they only added it to Ship 21 and above, that they will be able to vent off of this little ramp here. So yeah, that's an interesting.
The thing with COPVs, though, is that they offer more power and performance. So they may end up sticking with some COPVs.
I think they'll need them, especially
Yeah,
for
me too.
getting off of Mars, but neither here nor there. What I like is the fact that we get some information that you can't get anywhere else. So if you guys are enjoying what you're listening to, I encourage you to like, to subscribe, to become a Patreon member, to become a YouTube member, get access to these photos. Mauricio goes out every week and gets us new photos. We go over them on the weekends, but if you want access to them early, I definitely suggest you support him and become a Patreon member, because that's the best way to get him some cash. And I like that a lot. So I encourage you all to subscribe, like, and if you can afford it, always helps to be a Patreon member.
On that note, if this stream gets above 400 likes, I'll drop some wallpapers that I haven't released before. So
Thank you, Mauricio. That is huge. Okay, I'm gonna have to hold on and grab that the likes here. I gotta get those wallpapers.
Dude, you and me both. I missed it last time too, because they're only out there for a limited time. So when he puts them out there, make sure you get them, because I missed it.
Oh, we just got a super chat if you want to grab that.
Oh yeah, thank you, Rocket Super Chat. SS and SH are pressurized always. Leakage between CH4 and O2, whether it is main tanks or header tanks, or downcomers and cargo. He says not good. How much pressure leakage is there? And his super chat is for $10. Thank you, Rocket.
So there shouldn't be really any leakage between them. So they do pressurize that system to confirm that there is no leakage on these vehicles. So while they are sitting on the ground, you do have the ability to vent off. The vents are the areas that you do get leakage, but the welds themselves, there shouldn't be anything coming out of those. And the best part is with liquids versus a gas, liquids have a hard time going through, let's say, a small hole, where a gas, it will tend to do that. So, and luckily we're not dealing with any hydrogen here, so no fuel leaking directly into the other systems. So,
Yeah,
but,
like
yeah,
in
they've
life,
got a.
like
Oh,
in
and
life,
Sorry, go ahead.
also
leakage is bad.
they're not always pressurized. I understood during the lift they weren't pressurized entirely there.
Nope. And we have seen on the rare occasion that they will open up a hatch on booster 4 that will be in, let's say, Highbay. I've seen that before, and there'll be people inside, and the crane is not attached or it's slacked. So that's always an interesting one. It's like, well, what's going on there? It can hold its own weight, but they don't like to do that. They like to attach the crane to it every time. The pressurization does help support it a lot. So that is a huge element there. Speaking of boosters, this is a booster common dome. So I'm wondering if this is a 9, because it can't be for 8. We already have 8s in the shipyard, with 7s already attached as well. So yeah,
Didn't
that's
you
probably
also
going to
say
be
that
8.
the weld line, that
9, I mean.
circular weld line is higher? So that means it's newer and
Yes.
therefore
So
probably
this
for 9?
weld,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this weld right here, the old style of like this was about in the middle, so it's up about 75% higher from where that was at about 50% before.
Oh, time out. Rocket Prophet just dropped $50 and said, "Challenge me." I
Wow.
guess he's
Thank you,
throwing
Rocket Prophet.
the gauntlet out there for everybody. Oh man.
Oh, we just had 420 watching just a second ago. That's amazing.
We're getting there. Thank you guys. You fans, y'all make it really worthwhile. And I'm one too. Super fan of RGV, Elon, Starship, SpaceX. It's also wonderful to watch. I'm glad you are here with me.
Got a little sneak peek of booster Downcomer right here.
Ooh.
And another good shot of it right here as well. So this is kind of the new system that they're going for, and I'm pretty sure these are just the structural elements to help support it. One issue is you have pressures going into it or out of it that you're trying to prevent by basically putting in this additional structure here on the outside. Looking at these holes here.
Yeah. I also thought I saw a thrust buck there for a booster just a moment ago, maybe in the last picture.
Not here. Let me zoom out again here.
There it is.
Oh, yes, this one. Yes, right there. Maybe booster 9 or 10 or 11 or 12. It's kind of hard to keep track of these things now. They're popping in all over the place.
For a minute there, they were producing ships and boosters, it seemed, at such an astronomical rate, and then it all paused as they focused on stage 0. But I'm glad to see them pivoting back and focusing on stage 1 and 2.
Yeah, this particular one has been around for quite a while. I think it might be a prototype. So it's hard to say it's one of the first 13.
You can see the milling marks on it as well. I mean, that's how good the photography here is. Thanks, Mauricio. You can see how it's produced is through, this was all one solid plate that was milled out.
I think they actually had 2 plates welded together, then they milled it or something along those lines. But yeah, it is fantastic. So there's the actual image of it that we're even zooming in closer. You can really see each of those like mill marks and handprints and writing and yeah, each engine mount. But is this the old? No, this looks like version 2 Raptors, I think, as well. So that's good. The hole is the same size. So this is the hole for LOX. It's about 9 inches in diameter. Methane, they use about 7 inches diameter on that side. But yeah, this is an interesting one. The Downcomer for Super Heavy. I'm looking at this trying to figure out, is this the top of a LOX tank here, and then this is the LOX header? That's kind of one of those ones that are really interesting to me to figure out what exactly they're using here. And if the holes right here are for, let's say, valves or some valve body, I could understand that this would be the top of basically a LOX header tank, and then this is the methane.
Time out there,
Downcomer.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Shout out to FV for another $50 donation. Oh my goodness. And they ask, any idea when we might start seeing more moonship prototypes? Oh, thank you for the donation. And, in my heart, all of these are moonship prototypes that we're building towards the first lander. But that said, they were shooting for late 2024 to land as of last year. We don't know when that'll actually happen. It may launch from the Cape, it sounds like now. So the next moonship prototype might actually be one of the first ones produced down in Florida. That said, that's all speculation and best guesswork. But no, we are super looking forward to the Artemis missions and the human landing systems. That's going to be a real feather in the cap for Starship, and just a great thing for the country and the world.
And
I just
Rocket
love this.
challenges being met.
Thank you for that donation, Vampre. That is awesome. So I just love these flanges and everything else that they've got all of these details in here. So Mauricio's even got like when looks like oh, that doesn't make sense. That's not a date. I don't know what that is.
Know who hates flanges? Elon. Avoid all the flanges, just welds.
Wow, Booster 7, it is so close to being stacked. They do need the transport stand at Sanchez to finish this off. But yeah, it is getting very close. You can see the lines are actually running down right here for the picking up a ring section down there. But then you've got it's just blocked barely, but you can see actually you can't even see it. I thought that I saw a little yellow, but there isn't. But yeah, the bridge crane right there is just behind all of this. And you can see the windows through the other side. They have windows that's natural lighting. I like this, at least for the workers inside of Highbay. It's nice to have some natural lighting in there. And that's a great way of doing it. So, Mauricio, where is this actually that you're taking this particular picture from to get this great view here?
Right, that's on the street that leads up to the village, right next to the solar array farm.
Okay, so I think that's Epperson.
Right, yeah.
Now, I thought there were shipping containers and stuff like that, and I think I recognized the tree right there. That was like Maria Pointer's old house right there to the left.
That is correct. Yeah, there's a small gap where you can get a shot of these, and then once you move more towards the north, in this case, there is shipping containers.
Okay.
There's also a good view on the other side of the other street. What's that street called? Where the SPMTs park. There's another good view of the Highbay there.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like, oh my gosh, you got grid fins, unpainted, or at least if they are painted, they've got just the first coat. But these are grid fins. Wow, the whole assembly.
The third one is actually somewhere in the back. I think they moved it from the past time.
I've got 3 here, but I don't see the 4th.
One thing of note is that in the recent Starship presentation, they were painted white on the booster.
Yeah, that was interesting too.
In the launch simulation, they had painted the grid fins white. Do you think that might be a high temperature ceramic coating?
I don't know if that's a ceramic coating or if it's just zinc paint or what they're doing here, or if it's just stainless steel, but I don't see any weld lines, so I think they've painted it.
Right.
Or primed it. I think there's a weld right here you can barely see. Let me go back to that previous image. Yeah, there's a little bit of some welding going on here, but that's all you can really see is maybe there's just a bit of a hole here, they've got a plate here as well.
You know what? This vantage point actually gives you one more thing to consider. Look how thin that plate metal is. It's almost invisible windward if you see the lines running towards you.
Oh yeah, these guys, but these are actually still extremely thick. I went through and was able to get a reference off of one of these. It wasn't like 8 or 4 millimeters or anything like that. It was closer to like 12.5 millimeters, so the same thickness of Starhopper. So these are pretty thick.
So
It's
there's a
half a
question.
12 mils is half an inch or so.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, go for it. Go ahead, go for the
Go.
question.
There's a question
Yeah.
about why are the grid fins painted white? Is there any specific reason? Ayush is asking.
Yeah, so it's either a primer that's on there, or they have a particular coating product for it to be able to take better heat. So it's either going to be stainless steel or mild steel underneath. Either way, it's very cheap compared to the titanium grid fins that the Falcon 9 was using.
That's right. Oh, that reminds me. One of the most common pigments in white paint is titanium. Be a titanium coating.
Nice.
Titanium oxide. But yeah, my guess is it'd be heat protection and oxidation.
So we just had a question earlier about seeing Starship or Moonship prototypes. I think this is actually one of them. This is going to be your opening section for your basically either HLS system. So it'll open this way and then rotate so it's up. So it rotates so the top is up here. And then they will have some sort of rail system that will be able to lower down the astronauts and their cargo. This seems like it would be a really good direction for that if the hinge point is up here. So this could easily be either for HLS or cargo or some version of cargo that just has this and not a clamshell. So this would actually work well with a clamshell design as well. You just have to continue it all the way up through the nose cone as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually. With ever since they deleted the white nose cone, white nose cone with the NASA worm logo on the side of it.
Just that lifting strap to say testing may be occurring or have occurred with this system, because they want to be able to pull this off, take it off, and put it back on. There is no hinge mechanism currently, and the outside of this is not meant for a hinge mechanism at this point. It's just very much testing the system. If I think they could detach the section and then reattach the section and lock into place, and that those locks just basically slide into place, and it keeps it all very structurally rigid, or that's what it's supposed to do. But being able to just take it off and put it back on is actually a really simple test to know that this will or will not work as a design. Because if this flexes too much, that design doesn't work right. Oh, another good shot of the grid fins here.
While we're looking at that, we just want to acknowledge a super chat from Jim Cavett, who donates $5 and says, "You all rock. What a great presentation."
Thank you so much for that, Jim. Speaking of lifting straps, that kind of looks like one, but it's not. This is looks like material inside it is either rock or something like that to help prevent erosion or
Water.
other. Yeah.
I've seen
put
those laid down to prevent water from flowing over an area.
I've seen them around storm drains and other things like that. So it's like, you don't want the storm drain used? No, not yet. There's a lot of grease or other things that are in the area that they want to prevent water from coming in and messing things up, or even leaves and other debris. So the rocks are kind of big there, it looks like. Anyways, shiny object moment. Speaking of which, I have no idea what that is. It looks like
I was just looking at that.
Looks like a part of a starship's. Oh yeah, I recognize this. This is where the flaps. So like a lower flap, I believe. This is what this would sit on right there, or kind of be capped inside.
I was thinking it was a cheese grater.
Oh, lots of argon. They're going to do a lot of welding here. Generator, I think, is for powering the tent. They've been getting all sorts of electrical stuff again. There's another generator, and it's right next to all the conduits. So this tent, they're trying to get it back in action very quickly. So they've got power in a very interesting situation here. They've got all these backup power generators or mobile power generators to make things work while they are getting actual conduit lines buried. And looks like there's with a kind of a wood fence. I did not notice that before.
Next. There's that test cage.
Yep. I hope they don't scrap this, but it is next to the scrap yard. Who knows? But yeah, a lot of workers are getting stuff done over here. So we've got the starships again, the test cage, booster 5. Got a little extra stand here, there, but I'm not sure if that's for anything useful at this point. They did take a building apart over here, and so that makes it kind of interesting to see what was inside potentially. So now we're going over back to the launch site. So this is where all of the interesting stuff is, and I know that Golden Boy loves the launch site, specifically Stage 0, so we're going to get into some rabbit holes here.
Yeah, there's always a ton of stuff going on out there. It seems like most of the infrastructure, at least, other than the Widebay, is pretty much complete at the launch site. So we're usually waiting on Starship action. So it's nice to see where a lot of the major movements going. This is some sort of potential lightning rod on the top. Thomas, do you think it might be something else though?
Well, at least this is just a lattice structure. There is an object up there. We'll get to it here in a bit that might be able to either directly find, but there's a lot of pictures.
We can come back to it. It's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, just look at the height of this thing. It does look around to be like that 10 feet that they talked about. So there's very much a chance that it is the lightning rod. They have potentially other equipment up there. But we'll talk about it, look at it, and hey, we got a nice little ladder with a Ship 20 in the background. Actually, 2 ladders. Okay, we got test stand B with the quick disconnect. And they've got that all set up and everything. And then they've got the old quick disconnect system still there. It's just not really hooked up or functional at this point. And the booster transport stand for booster 4, the first transport stand they made, just sitting there. A lot of junk back here because Elon presentation just made them, stick it wherever they could to hide it from everybody. But those are watching.
I wish they would get that thing out of there and take it to the Highbay. Start stacking booster 7. I mean, if booster 8 is already starting to be, assembled, I just don't understand. Like they only have one transport stand that's on its way or to completion. So, with that launch being pushed out as much as it is, I'm surprised that they haven't either moved this transport stand
or this. When we see booster 7 and booster 8. I wonder if there's a different lip and format that they connect into, or slightly different, that this will not work for the new ones. And the current the transport stand for booster 5 is the same family as this one. So they might be building new stands for a new generation that is just slightly modified, and it's just modified enough you have to use another one. But yeah, this is another good shot of that transport stand here. The 3 amigos, and we have our nice flame stack, but they don't ever really seem to be using it as a flame stack. There's an igniter system, but it's not really used. And they do have a fire extinguisher that's remotely controlled, at least pointed at it, but I don't see. I guess this pipe right here is the actual pipe for it to fill it up with water. It's also the main system holding it up with a couple of supports. Okay, lots more argon. Wow, they are really packing it in over here.
And for the uninitiated, argon is an inert gas which is used to shield. So while you're welding, oxygen doesn't immediately oxidize the superheated metal, and you get less fracturing and brittleness, and you get a better quality.
You also don't get oxygen, nitrogen bleeding into it on the weld, so that really does help. We've got some flame arresters here. They did replace those a while back, and it looks really good. Golden Boy, was there anything on here that you were wanting to go after while we had it here? Because this is
we could talk about it here. So actually, if you scroll down a little bit, we mentioned shield, but I think actually if you go up, there's still frost line on it as well too on the booster.
that was. This
Yep.
is all yesterday, so
She was
all these
cold.
pictures were from yesterday. But yeah, that is a lot of water that built up on here that froze.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out is the I don't know if we can see it from this angle. You can see a little bit of it. The cables that are going into the launch mount from the top. We can talk about those a little bit more when we get a better angle on it.
Okay.
But you see the black ones going through the. We can move on to
here. I can't remember now which particular leg it is, but everything is looking pretty good on the inside. It's just really getting these legs covered and protecting the pipes there, because these are your main lines. And wow, look at the frost on that too. It's still frosted up right here. That this part I think is the insulation up to this part. But yeah, that is awesome to see. Got the drawworks inside of here with the cable going down. So this is something that people always are bothered by, but this is nothing significant. So the issue here is that when they were pouring the concrete, they did have a little bit of a bubble, as well as just a difference in the concrete when pouring. So this side was poured and they didn't quite get the air bubble out right here when they put on the next layer, but it is by and far not a big issue. This is mostly rebar structures that are holding it up in the inside as far as tension, and the main support and structure is actually right here and here. So this basically gets spread out from here into all directions going down, kind of like a triangle. But the main support is just these guys. These are very thick columns with lots of rebar. This is what's really taking all the weight. The rest of this, it just helps spread out a bit of the load from the center here, and it all keeps it together. But yeah, this is not a really big issue. People keep bringing that up. But
Thomas, I think we're having an issue with the stream. Let's give it a second.
Is it on
potatoing? Then I don't want to destroy people's speakers.
It's going great for me. Might be a local issue for you. Let's give a check out in the audience. Is the stream doing okay for everybody? Give it a rating from SN3 to SN20. That said, man, this tower is so complex and so much going through it. I'm glad to finally be seeing some progress made on commissioning it, getting all the pipes wrapped up.
Yep. I see the resistor banks for the drawworks. So this is basically their part of their brake system. So they've got the AC motor drawworks in here. It's a quad motor from NOV. They basically will pump power when the drawworks is going down, and they'll use that power as the brakes. The resistor banks here are part of that system to slow it down. So that's really cool to see these again. But yeah, I'll try to keep the movement to a minimum so that whatever issues that are on the stream side are decreased. Back there, I think this is the kind of like an ice box. It's really a chilling unit to help cool down other liquids or things that comes inside. I just don't know what liquids are being chilled and where they are chilling things from. I don't think it has anything to do with these resistor banks, but it is at the same platform level. I have no clue. But here's an interesting thing to note. When you see these two green lights on, you'll see them on lab stream at night. It means that the system is active. It's ready to lift things, or at least this is part of that system.
Ready to do some chopping?
Yep. It still tickles me that I remember talking about this on the stream months beforehand, the two ideas of chopsticks. One was a lasso and one was a chopsticks method to catch a booster. And then several weeks later, Elon said chopsticks. And I was just like, did I do that? Very odd, but it was good to be able to hear something like that. And they did
listening. He's always listening.
always listening. But yeah, they did remove a lot of the paint.
My one idea on those heat transfer units for the hydraulics is that they're not to chill anything, but to just keep it cool so it doesn't overheat.
Okay. So we got some hydraulics up here for the chopsticks. So you got one for each one, and it does go off just to the side of the center of the chopstick. So there's the center line with the pin right here going all the way down. Let's see. This is the top pin. Yeah. So the pin, it's all being held up by this system right here. That collar holds everything up, and it's a friction fit. So that is an amazing system. And one of these things, we try to price this out. It's like $75,000 approximately just for this piece right there. It was, and that was on the good side of cheap, but it might be more than this. So
wow. Just for the U-bolt.
So if you go to that next picture, actually, there's something really interesting in that. Hopefully, if you could zoom in actually on the QD. So when they disconnect this from the ship, their goal is usually before they move it back, they're going to cover up all the holes. And it's been kind of windy out there, and I don't know if anybody's been up there lately. So here's your notice. You got one coming off, and you got one already off. So hopefully you don't get any birds in there. So you might want to. We'll probably see them purge that whole system now before they do anything again. At least see one purge, I'd have to imagine. You don't want to let potential debris go into the starship.
Speaking of which, they did have a purge on, I think, this line right here. That's why it does not have the bag on it. It just popped it right off.
I do want to point out something that we were all afraid of did not happen. The ship quick disconnect was able to quickly connect and disconnect from Starship 20. So yay, it's not broken.
Yeah. The thing that still bugs us is those blocks of wood. They work, but they don't look like they're the final product. It's like, is this what you're going to have at the end? You're going to do a launch and you have 2 blocks of wood holding up your Starship QD?
It's engineered wood, Thomas. It's perfectly to scale.
Oh, perfect. Oh, good. It's engineered.
Thomas,
perfect.
Could you lower the image a little bit so we could get the full face in the frame?
Sorry, there you go.
Thank you.
So yeah, these look like they are pneumatic devices here that are pushers. So I think that's what these are for, is being able to help align it to the ship and push away from it. But that is just my guess based off what we've seen. There are some pneumatic lines or maybe hydraulic lines attached to each one of these. So that is kind of an interesting setup there. I think of this as the SQD, like the squid. Just a weird way of pronouncing it, but the way that you called it, Grandpa Joe, it still stands out in everybody's minds.
It is a face sucker from Aliens.
It also just leaps out at the ship and grabs onto it.
Just at the face of the ship, you mean?
Yeah.
But I did spot a ladder, so we do have ladders all over the place.
Now, are those ladders or are those stairs?
Oh, these ones are ladders. These are ladders as well to the scaffolding, and this is ladder for going up and down. When this goes all the way out, or actually it can't go all the way out, but when it gets close to all the way out, you can still go up and down this to access things. I still have no idea what these 2 eyelets are for this particular part. I always thought they were needed for something. Could have been just for the construction of it, because this thing was upside down when it was built. So they might have used these 2 eyelets to just pick it up to help flip it over.
It's also possible that something is still going to be installed there. I think that there's a lot of those that we tend to keep an eye on, thinking that if something gets lifted up, it's probably going to go there. I would say that's probably one of those locations for me.
Yeah, we could also be looking at potential plates or coverings or other things. So it is just one of those questions that we always watch for, those little details to see what's going on there. And wow, they've got cameras just everywhere. So these cameras here, the cameras up here, They've got 3 up here, 2 down at the bottom. At least I can see in that one view. Another camera right here.
Speaking of
Here.
cameras, Mauricio, I was wondering what kind of camera and lens are you using to take this picture? Oh, and while you're getting unmuted, we're almost there to 400 likes. So if you haven't, like the stream. And as soon as we hit 400, Mauricio is dropping a little present for everybody.
Yes, I don't think they want the wallpaper this time. I don't see
Oh,
it.
Yeah.
Right?
There's just 8 people who do not want a free wallpaper with great details on it. It'll only be a limited time, I think, right? So it'll be posted into the into the chat. So it's there, and by the end of the stream, it will be gone, right? So this is going to be an interesting one. Got
that
7 more
correct.
likes.
Yeah, that's correct. These images I have posted them before on Twitter, but I've never posted the higher resolution, the printable version of it per se. But going back to the question from Grandpa John, I'm using a Sony A7 III with multiple array of lenses. 200, 600 is my go-to, which is what I use for the most part.
How windy was it yesterday, by the way?
It wasn't too bad. It was actually extremely windy on Wednesday. That's part of the reason why, or that's the only reason why we had to screw up the flyover. We wouldn't be able to fly.
Oh, wow.
I think we had gusts of like exceeding 40 miles an hour, so that's not good, you know.
All right, Mauricio, we've gotten to we shot over 420, so we're in. Time to drop your wallpaper.
All right, I'll drop it in the chat shortly, and make sure you save that link because I will delete it after the stream.
Oh,
Guys, look in that chat. It's coming. Look at this particular element, Golden Boy. This is what we were talking about for that lightning rod. It's just a lattice structure. We've seen these all over the place, and
It looks like a wind.
I think there's
wind
2
turbine
separate
on top.
things there. There's something in the foreground possibly, and then there's the other structure in the back. I don't think those are both the same thing. It's hard to tell.
this looks like it's attached to the leg right here. We've seen them do this before. It looks like a weather vane, but this particular one, it looks like an ultrasonic weather vane. So they're able to get wind speed, temperature, barometric pressure, all these other things, and it's just using ultrasonics to do that. This is kind of what it looks like for one of
Dang,
those.
so maybe they are the best people to let Mauricio know when the best day to fly is.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Rocket Profit. He just dropped $15 more. Every additional 100 likes, and I'll donate an additional $15. Challenge laid down. 400.
He's crazy.
Thank you, Rocket Profit.
You have room for adopting a daughter? I'm just kidding.
And if you can't donate, just create a new account and like the stream. And there you go.
Yeah, this is one of those little things. We'll probably have a product and number and serial number for, not serial number, but product number for this pretty quickly. I've seen stuff like this as an ultrasonic weather tester.
So you're saying this is the lightning rod itself?
This could be part of the lightning rod system, but these are the lightning rods right here. I think this might just be for wind weather information. I think they need to still install the rest of the lightning rod here, because obviously this is the highest point on the structure, and you will want to have it set up like these so that it is locked down.
But the lightning rod itself, the whole process is an aversion process, right? Versus attracting the lightning, it's actually averting it.
Sort of. So it's grounded for the static buildup along this. It's discharged, so you are less likely to have a lightning strike. But if you do, this is the first thing it will hit to be grounded. So this or up here. So it's whatever the path of least resistance through the atmosphere will be. Usually the higher up you are, the closer to that path will be. But these will also be the path of least resistance. So you'll have potentially the leading element of that lightning bolt either hit this or this. Then it discharges just as quick. Can actually see it looks like a little bit of wire up there attached to these as well. So that's actually kind of a cool clue. So they do actually not just use the building, they're using looks like a copper line or something to ground it directly. And yeah, we've got our nice little scaffolds that go up and down, the Sky Climbers. I almost want to say Sky Climber 5000 or something, but I don't see a particular model number. But yeah,
The
they've got
window
little
washers.
yeah, they've got paint rollers so that it doesn't run into things too much as it's going up and down. It's just right on the track. I do kind of expect them to go through and remove additional paint all the way down. But I mean, the thing is that the chopsticks shouldn't be up this high anyways. But you don't want the paint getting into the rollers on the chopsticks, or I'm sorry, the shoes, or I'm sorry, the skates. That's what we call those. Sorry.
So Zach, I was wondering, why do you think they were so busy grinding on the skates? Not on the skates, on the rails there.
I'm honestly not sure. I mean, it's probably just a tolerance issue that they had where they expect it to be a exact distance. Like if you were to take a huge pair of calipers and clamp it on either side of the rail, they probably expect it to be the same width, plus or minus a certain amount. And if it's outside of that, then they may have to shave it down in order to do that. And that could be caused from just the difference in manufacturing of the rails themselves, or I don't even know if this is possible, but if the columns actually expand a little bit when the concrete is curing, potentially that could cause them to it be out of tolerance, essentially. I don't know if that is the case, but it's just an option for what could be happening.
All right, and it is 2:00. So, Indian Star, do you have any questions from the chat for us?
Not really any questions as of yet. I think we've been answering them as we go along. We've just been trying to meet that super chat that Rocket Prophet dropped for everybody, a challenge.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rocket Prophet. Always one of our best consistent donors. Keeping Mauricio flying.
So Thomas, if you zoom in on this
one right here,
the image you're on.
Yep. Okay.
So if you go from left or right to left, and you see this huge white pipe, so everything that you're seeing right there is insulated. And if you slide over to the left, you can actually see where the insulation stops and the ice begins. The ice literally created another layer. No.
Not
Oh,
there,
wow.
or
It's
right
in the
here?
middle. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right there. That's the ice line. That's right where it starts. You can see you can see where the insulation ends and where the
Wow.
ice starts. And it's crazy that it's exactly the same diameter.
Right?
And you could see the way it builds, the way it shrinks as it goes down for some reason. I don't think this. Oh, yeah, it does. There's a change of diameter right there. So
it might be that just a little bit of perspective issue here. So it's going away from us at this point. So here's the bend and the turn, and it just gets smaller and smaller as far as the pipe because it's getting further from us.
and
this part
mind
right
you-
here, though, is probably they have a large section right here that's connecting two pieces together.
I wanna throw this out there. I could be wrong because that line right there is where the insulation stopped before. So, and this could be very super fresh insulation that phases into ice down there, and it's hard to tell. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's a solid ice line right there. We may have to see if we can get another image right there. The fact that it's the exact same diameter kind of makes me think that maybe it's not ice. I don't know if we have another image of it though.
Well, look, but the one other thing is the kettle boilers. Oh, whoops, let me go back. The kettle boilers here, they're so frosted over. This is not insulation. This is frost.
You're right. Yeah. Okay. Then they look the exact same too. So it probably is ice all the way over there.
Yep. Yeah. It just has that weird texture to it all the way over. So I don't know if that's insulated either. That we have this interesting debate on insulation for different people, but I like more insulation with the pipes, the cryo pipes. I like them, but the thing I've always seen is that, like for elbows, especially for long runs or areas where they've made the welds, a lot of times they do not insulate it. They just leave it open, and sometimes they will cover it. and it's just a very strange thing, especially at the suborbital fuel farm or even inside the ground, as far as the trenches where they run a lot of this cryo for the either nitrogen or oxygen or methane as well in the future when they actually start using methane here. They don't have any of the segments wrapped. They just have the main part insulated, and then there's just that area where it's welded. So what do you think that they're going to do as far as the certification of the rest of this, or do you think they will hit every single corner as well, Golden Boy?
Well, this right here, I have a feeling. I have a feeling actually that the reason that they left it like that is because they may try and actually put a T right there at some point and go over to the left and use the other methane tank as a LOX tank. I hope they don't do that. I mean, it would be easier to change the nitrogen tank over to a LOX tank. Yeah, I mean, so basically the point is we have two unused GSE tanks, and I mean, ideally they're going to use them for something. I don't know if it's even possible to get them approved without special permissions, which I don't think they're going to get. But you know, if they're going to use them, then they might as well convert them to something else, which is difficult because they already have the other two. They already have the nitrogen and the LOX already plumbed and connected to each other, and they're connected in multiple different ways. It's not just the discharge side; it's the supply side. All the vents, all three of the LOX tanks, the vents on all of them are connected together. So technically, they're pretty much all one tank. The level of LOX is the same in all the tanks. The pressure is the same in all of them. Like they're basically the same tank. So to patch something else into that is going to be difficult, and I think that might be why they left that part uninsulated. But again, time will kind of tell on that one.
Interesting. There was a question about that. Inio Schneider asks, is there any news about what they're going to do with the vertical methane GSC tanks that can't be used? And you pretty much answered it. There's also a question. I'm sorry.
I would say that to answer that question a little bit more, the only things that you can do is you could do something with potentially, let's say, gases for methane. Potentially, that's one way that you could be able to do stuff, because you're dealing with a separate type of system at that point. You'd have to change some things on the tanks itself, maybe internally, and they do not have any of the insulation, which is what was that word called? Martite? No, that's the other one.
Not vermouth. Vermiculite.
Yeah.
Perlite.
Perlite, yes, perlite. Wow. It's one of those ones we don't normally use, but yeah.
I just noticed somebody asked a question, Jim Cabot. He said, "What did I just see?" That image was actually the orbital launch mount being used as a rabbit hole. So
yeah.
Sorry that we didn't show that long enough for you to see it, but
yes, we are going into some rabbit holes. Expect some more here. Yes.
Feel free to screenshot. We'll give you a second, and there you go.
There's also another question about the insulation. Cody asks, do you have any info on the white versus black insulation?
I don't know the difference between them, but I do know that they mark the different. So it doesn't make sense really the way that they do it. The ones that go up the orbital launch mount are black, and then the ones that go to the launch tower are white, and the methane return line or the methane bleed line is black. We'll have to go to a picture of the launch mount. Let's see if we have one coming up. Oh, hey.
That's our stream.
That's us.
Yeah.
We can incept ourselves.
I don't know how that got in there, but there it was.
Is that the far end of the rabbit hole?
Yeah, it's the infinite loop in the rabbit hole. Whoops.
Let's see what we got coming up.
We can incept ourselves.
Yeah, just going through a couple of other pictures here. This is actually really good of a picture of the entire tank farm. You've got the left side over here. Those are the methane tanks. We've got the water tank, then we've got locks, I believe, over here, and then the nitrogen tanks over to the right. So yeah, that's a really good view of everything here. And then one of the biggest things that, this is
Have we had
so
any evidence
confusing.
of the water tank being filled at all?
He has a better picture of that coming up.
Okay, but yeah, so yeah, we'll get to that little pipe at the left side. What was your question again? Sorry, Grandpa Joe.
Has there been any evidence that the water tank has been filled at all? I know that they recently started painting where they were, thinking about adding some ribbing. So, but yeah, so
Yes, I think there is some evidence of that. So we had those large water bags that were filled up from somewhere. They had water there, lots of it. So we suspect that they've been filling up that water tank slowly, but surely to do that. So that is one area that they're potentially getting a lot of water from.
Yeah, I can post a picture later and show people how they're doing it. They've been adding water to it for probably about 4 months now. I think they stopped when they removed the welds, and they may have drained it, and then they had to fill it up to do the test that Thomas talked about. But if you've ever been to Starbase and you've stood in front of the tank farm and you see a water truck drive by, that usually goes and parks in front of the 2 liquid nitrogen tanks and starts offloading water into that.
That's the potable water truck you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Because yeah, there's the other one that's a vacuum truck that it basically pulls in water and other things, and they've been bringing that over there quite consistently to remove the water inside of the culverts. They have little culverts here for the pipes that basically they fill up with water, and so they need to pump that out as well. And you'll see a couple of flyover pictures ago, actually just the last flyover, there
We
was
used
2
to have
frac tanks.
I always almost forgot what those trucks were called, because I won't say his name, but we used to call those. Yeah, it was my old boss, because he sucked. So we had a special name for those trucks. They're actually all around here lately, and that's one thing I did want to point out, is that they've been around the tank farm a lot, and I'm kind of wondering. Actually, I do have an aerial shot to show it. I think must be a ton of water in the trench surrounding the tank farm. So basically, where all of the cryotubes go, I'm pretty sure there's a massive amount of water down there that they've been slowly trying to pump out. But I'm gonna have to find a picture in order to show you guys really quick. And while we're doing that, Thomas can.
Yep, I'll just keep going with some more pictures, and then we'll get back to that here. So this is the other side of test stand B with the QD. So you can see all the connectors here. So this one we're facing the connectors. So I believe this will be methane on the left and LOX on the right, because we're facing it this way. Normally we face it from the back, and it's easier for me to remember. But it's just kind of mirrored here. So we also have the transport stand, another view of it, pretty unencumbered. It's got 12 feet. That's what we see for the cryo stations. So they will be consistent, I believe, with the cryo stations and the future builds of the transport stands, so that it has 12 feet.
All right. I just sent you that picture.
Okay. Don't know why we went back to that picture of Inception, but yeah, there's the frac tank.
Yeah,
frac tanks and the vacuum truck.
Right. So the pump that they use to fill the water tank is actually to the right, the red one. Yeah, right there.
Right there.
So the truck will usually pull up to that, and then you see the water line go back in between the 2 methane tanks. So that leads into the water tank on the backside. Obviously, that pump can probably be dual purpose, but I think there's another line coming back, another water line coming through the other side.
I think this one's for
right
the vacuum truck here, and that's for these trenches here. Not
that's
culverts,
what I'm saying.
sorry.
They had to pull a ton of water out of there, I think.
Yeah, so we talked about that a little bit last week, but it was just this problem that they continue to have, and they will either have to fix that by making concrete covers that will help prevent water from coming in, and then sealing up the cracks a little bit, or doing something. But at least they have a partial solution to this problem. And the amount of water that they have here just kind of shows again that they were pulling enough that they put it in these, which these are what are called frac tanks. This water is basically contaminated water. You need to dispose of it properly. But anyways,
It doesn't look like something I'd want to drink.
nope, absolutely not. So great
Definitely
view of
not potable.
Starbase. This is from the sand dunes. Just to the right is probably the integration tower. Is that right, Mauricio?
Wait, did we skip images?
Yeah, that's from the sand dunes.
Okay, so yeah, we're set the same
Okay.
location. So this is
Okay.
all sequential. This is what he's just looked over to the left, took some great pictures. We got Stargate building and everything else, and this always kind of reminds me of a pirate ship or something. At the sails, it is great. So wide shot from the sand dunes to show everything included. Booster 4 is looking pretty proud of itself after a good successful cryo test there. So we actually do have some questions, particularly around this, quite a few in fact. What are we looking at as far as some of those questions? I didn't get a chance to read them.
So there was a
So
question. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I wasn't sure which one you're going to read. Go ahead.
Did you want to read one?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'll
There's a
answer
couple
them
of
though.
questions. Okay, perfect.
All you.
There's a couple of questions about water deluge. The first one is from Krishna. He's asking, will there be any water deluge system or nitrogen for sound suppression? Oh,
I think there's some closer images that we.
Perfect.
There we go. So yeah, there's this is the one I was waiting on. So there's these pipes underneath the launch mount, which we truthfully haven't fully figured out yet. I mean, it appears to be that it's most likely going to be nitrogen, but it also could potentially be water. However, the fact that it's pointing up to me makes it seem like it's definitely not water, and you would want to, it seems to me more like a dilution system for just adding a ton of nitrogen to that area if during the Raptor chill process, or if you have aborted launch. So if you ignite some of your engines, but enough of them don't ignite, and you have to shut down, you may have like residual methane just hanging out down there, and it could be a good idea to dump a massive amount of nitrogen out there in order to reduce any type of flash explosion from happening.
So Zach, would that be gaseous nitrogen or liquid? Because I don't see any shielding or.
It would be
thermal.
gaseous.
Okay.
Yeah. So the nozzles on there on those pipes are very similar to the ones that are on the front of the tank farm. So that the first part of the tank farm that starts venting during any test, it has those same exact nozzles on top of it. There may be an image in here later where I'll be able to, I'll try and remember to come back to it. But one other thing I really wanted to touch on, which hopefully he won't be upset at me for changing the subject, because I think this is really interesting. Thomas, if you can zoom out a little bit,
Well, the one thing to mention is the nozzle right here is a spiral nozzle, so it's just kind of a cool element there. Go ahead.
So on the top of the launch mount, you can see these cables that are coming down, and I don't have the image ready. I can probably get it for you guys. But what those cables are basically connected to cameras, and so you can see that on each of those legs, each cable that's going up to the top. And what those cameras are for is to observe all 20 clamps and all 20 Raptor QDs. And if you look at that, oh, you're moving around a little bit. Okay.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get the. There's another image that you were wanting here that I have coming up, specifically for what you're talking about, I believe. So I'm just gonna go find it real quick, and I
This
can
one's
come
good,
back.
right?
Sorry. Okay.
Okay. So right here, you can see that there's at the bottom left of the screen, there's some conduit that's coming up.
This one right here, or just these
yeah,
conduits?
that conduit. Yeah, it's brand new. It was being installed last week when Mauricio did his ground pictures. There was a guy actually on the launch mount leg climbing it to install those, and you can kind of see the direction that it's going. And then if you look, there's this huge box in the doorway in the very middle of the screen.
Oh, this one or
No,
this one?
no, go back out, all the way, very middle of the screen right there. Now, so you see all the cables on the bottom of it. Those are exposed cables, which means they're not actually ran to anything yet. And more than likely, those are the camera cables that are coming off the top of the launch mount. They go down and into the launch mount, collect and come out right here. And that conduit is going to connect all of those to the control building. And so until they have all of those wired up, I'm gonna say that they might. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't lift the booster onto the launch mount until all of that's done, because you don't want to have all of those guys standing on the table verifying all of that stuff, making sure all of the clamps are deployed, making sure they're all released. You don't want, typically you don't have your whole crew standing there when you have a live load above your head, especially when it's a robotic load. So, this is the first time they would ever use the chopsticks to take the booster off. So ideally, just like they did with the ship, you do everything via camera. And because these cameras are not connected, I think that is one very, very large reason why they have not used the chopsticks to lift the booster yet.
Well, it's all about automation, really. I mean, you're talking about the cameras. They want to be able to do this without human presence.
Right.
Where the current system they use, Marvin the Crane, the LR 11,000 that SpaceX owns, and having access to that allows them to basically do it with people present. Where the chopsticks, it is currently being rated, and it's basically probably has to be a safety factor that says, no, you're not allowed to have people here because the way that it's attached is a little bit more experimental.
Yeah, and I mean it's very serious to make sure that you obviously seat that booster properly, because I mean, if let's say you're not fully engaged on one of those clamps, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the booster doesn't really sit straight up on the launch mount. Actually, when the ship QD arm grabs the booster, it pushes it up into the vertical position. It's not 100% vertical until that arm pushes it up. And so, I mean, if you imagine one of the clamps on the far side wasn't fully engaged and you filled it up with fuel, you'd be slightly compromised on your hold down ability as far as just keeping the static load from tilting over.
Why do you think it was slightly off center or off level there? Wind or
I mean,
construction?
Because I don't know. I mean, the way that you build these things, it's first of all the launch mount's so large. They're using all these, 3D scanners and whatnot in order to perfectly place everything. And part of putting the booster on the launch mount for the very first time was to make sure that everything aligned with the clamps. And ideally, once they took it back off, what they were doing was adjusting them to what they thought was the perfectly vertical position. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did those same measurements when it was on the launch mount the second time and then made more adjustments. And they could be taking more measurements right now and going to do final adjustments on what that actual perfectly vertical position is for the clamps. And that could be another thing that needs to be completed before the chopsticks can lift it off or can do that job, because you want it to be perfectly straight and know that it's going to be straight. And you don't want to be setting it down on one clamp first and then touch down on the other ones after.
Yeah, you forget that this is such a big machine. It is a machine, and it has to align, and yeah.
So one thing I wanted to point out in this image, because we still have quite a few to go over here, and we've got about 40 minutes to go through this stuff, but we've got some interesting elements to really look at here, where we've got basically the same pattern repeating. So it looks like there's a pipe that it basically is just this system that has a T right here. Any ideas or guesses of what this is? So I'm making up the details behind what I think would be connecting. It doesn't make sense otherwise. So any guesses on what we're looking at there?
Are you asking me? I have a guess, but
Joe?
No guesses. Electrical is my first guess.
nah,
The way that
That's a bad guess.
that wasn't talking about your guess. I'm talking about me guessing. I'm not going to guess because I don't want SpaceX to know that I'm onto them. And I've been working on an article for about 3 or 4 months related to the pipework of the entire launch mount. I feel like I'm pretty close to having almost all of it figured out and know what each hose is, what each pipe is, whether they're gas or liquid, and I feel like it'll be there soon. It's not today's not the day, but
okay. So I have
try,
guesses. I have guesses. So I'm looking at anything from the systems in here. You can see that they've got basically all sorts of different elements that you have pipes. So the only things you can really be dealing with are the fluids and gases on site. So the only ones that they have really are methane, oxygen, water, nitrogen, and helium. So those are the really the big ones here. So these are all pipes that they're supposed to take some sort of fluid, if it's a gaseous fluid or a liquid fluid, whatever it is. So for a fire suppression system if you've got a fire in there. But then, of course, the other one that I'm missing actually is a big one, hydraulics. But this doesn't look like it would be hydraulics. If I'm looking at this right, that one looks like it's taped over. But if it's a cap, then it would be potentially hydraulics on that one.
One thing to also notice is that those are capped off right now with tape or a bag, and they've disconnected every single QD in the launch mount. Not all of them. There's a good amount of them that are disconnected right now. It looks like there should be a flex hose connected to that, but it's not there right now. They've disconnected it.
So you think those are probably like hydraulic lines? These would be hydraulic lines then for the ship QDs?
No. So there should be no hydraulics going to the outer Raptor 20 engines because they don't have thrust vector controlling.
No. I'm saying for the actual arms. So the arms need to be able to retract. They use hydraulics to do that.
Oh yeah, I understand what you mean now. Not that one, but there's another one in there. That actually, like I said, the flex hoses come down from those, all 3 of them, and they go into the Raptor QD. So there should be 3 hoses in that window, but they're not there because they removed them.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. That maybe they have to change out some flex hoses. Maybe they're hopefully not replacing the QDs. But oh wow. Okay, so I just realized a lot of people had theories about, oh man, possible like contamination issues or whatever with the booster. Like, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I mean, what if they're just completely disconnecting it from those outer 20 engines so that the entire launch mount isn't compromised? That's just a guess, but I don't know.
Or
an idea that popped in my head.
I mean, if you have contamination, you have to open up everything and blow it out. If these are lines that go to the
you would think you would just disconnect the QD unless they have to be connected. Like, I don't know. I don't know if they move independently at all, like, or if the clamp is there that the QD also has to be connected. I don't know, but yeah, definitely interesting that they've removed those small details, but pretty major in my opinion.
Every detail is important, including gaseous helium purge. So you've got your helium system right here. Those lines, I can't follow the rest, but they go to the booster quick disconnect, and that's where I lose it. It goes to the booster. That's all I can see on these particular lines here. Then you've got the COPV load, which again, you're probably looking at nitrogen gas, so they're high pressure lines directly for the COPVs. But the other COPVs, there could be something I've seen for potential for hydraulic fluids. If they want to be able to load hydraulic fluids to COPVs, be able to change it out or anything like that, there is some evidence based off of previous documents we've seen of storage of hydraulic fluids. I never said if they were hooked up to anything, but it's one of those things to kind of keep in mind to look at when you see some interesting things like this. I think this would be nitrogen though. So
I can't wait for them to cover up the rest of the launch mount.
Yeah, I know that the legs are definitely getting covered. I mean, looking at this, all you have to do is put some plates around it from here to the next section down here, and you now have yourself a corner, and it basically just a box structure that protects the conduit and everything else as well when you do the other sides. This one, it gets a little bit more interesting. They don't have any of that done.
Oh wow!
Really.
Thank you, Lab Padre, if he's watching. You know what? I just want to take a second because everybody, you guys all do this to all of us, I think. So Lab sent me a picture of what appears to be a LOX tank LOX pump in the air right now. So they are either adding an additional LOX pump or replacing one again.
Oh wow,
man, I love it that you guys see things and you're like, what is that and why? And send it our way. It's really amazing. I like the engagement that's happening out here right now. So thank you, Lab, for that. And I hope he sends me some pictures of ship 20 potentially getting 22 getting aft flaps here soon, because I'm pretty sure that might be happening right now. But we will all find out together.
How many more pictures do we have to go through?
Got 31 more pictures here. I just wanted to double check to make sure we don't go too fast, that we pace ourselves. But we're actually getting a good clip. We've got 30 minutes left here.
Yep, 1 minute. There we go.
Perfect. So right here we do have what appear to be Starlinks, 4 Starlinks on the system, and they have a heat shield tile, heat shield tile covering them. So looks like a total of 7. So 1 plus the 6 on the surrounding.
That may not be a heat shield, but something that is simply transparent to microwave.
Yeah, the only thing that we could figure out would be a reason why they would want to use heat shield is that the Starlink itself is not going to be able to take the heat. And when this is in launch mode, you'll have flames coming up and around because there's a lower pressure system being created by the rocket as it's lifting off and punching through the atmosphere. The lower pressure system will necessitate some of the heat shield tiles is one idea. Another is during reentry, you potentially could damage them as well, and you'd like to be able to maintain communications throughout the whole journey.
Yeah, I noticed that in their own simulation, which I kind of expected, but during the boost back burn and just during the boost back burn, or was it the boost back burn? You could see the flames coming up and over the bottom of the engine. So they were all the way over the COPVs, and obviously, that's to me it seemed like a rendering they put together quickly, but I don't know if let me see if I can find the video of it really quick actually and send it to you.
So there's a kind of a mystery hole for me right now. There's this section right here on the booster. This is basically the hydraulic power unit, but they're using something over here that's either it's like a line that you can connect into like you would with a car with gasoline. They'd be able to potentially put some sort of liquids in through this port. But I think it's most likely something to do with radio because I never see an actual hole in it. It's just this kind of circular object in the center when I've seen the other pictures of it. And it seems like it's either for radio communications, let's say with a chopstick. So once it passes the chopsticks to be able to receive a signal saying, okay, we can now do our thing and move out of the way. So it has a bit more, I guess, dynamics with the system, or maybe it's some other system. So the other one is ultrasonics is the one I could guess on.
Hey guys, just a reminder, if you haven't already, go ahead and like the stream, and if you haven't already, subscribe to RGV Aerial. He's both active on YouTube and Twitter, and there's Patreon. Every time you donate, it helps keep Mauricio flying and supplies us with pictures to review for y'all.
Or almost about to 500 likes. That's amazing.
I am going to look for a picture of those cameras on the. Oh, actually, hold on, Thomas.
Here is
we
the
go.
picture that we were looking at before. So
Yeah. So this, for those who may have been asking, all of these little white dots on the edge of the launch mount, those are cameras.
So these ones right here.
Yes, and so you can see that they're pointed directly at the clamp for the engine, and I don't know if they're at an angle, honestly. I believe they may be at an angle so they can also see the QD, but the most important thing is the clamps. So
we've got the hood right here and the clamp. So I think it looks like it's either
directly
looking
at
to
the
the
clamps.
left or going straight. So it's either looking
I've seen
straight
them
at
from the
clamp.
bottom, and they do. Some of them do. Matter of fact, I see one that's turned to the side, but
Yeah, if those clamps weren't to let go during a launch, it'd be a bad day.
well, that's not going to help them. I mean, this is not going to be their way of verifying that the clamp's all released. They'll be in trouble if that doesn't happen.
One thing I don't see right now are those black cables I'm looking for that would be going up.
So they're actually covered up. There's conduit coming from outside, and then there's a big, huge junction box of some sort. And those are not small; they're very large junction boxes. Like I'll post a video of it later. You can jump over them. They, one of our lovely nerdles, Vix, happened to catch one of the guys running and jumping on the top of the launch mount because he's really happy to be at work. And he was jumping over those boxes. They're definitely big. There may be something else in them as well. Honestly, I just haven't. With this 10,000 foot TFR, it's kind of hard to get some good images of them.
Did you see?
So I do see. I do see that we have these little covers that you could be putting a wire through right here, so people are able to walk over it and not get snagged on it.
Well, those covers are about 8 inches tall.
Oh wow! So
Yeah,
Indian Star, you were saying?
I was just going to acknowledge a couple of super chats we've got while you gents were talking. We got another $15 from Rocket Profit for the 500 likes that we achieved. We're over 500 likes at this moment, so thank you, Rocket Profit, for acknowledging that. Gents, we are over 500 likes for this episode already. We have a super chat from Yazada for $10. They say, keep Mauricio flying. So we are doing our best to make sure that happens. And we have Keith Penny donating £5. The image analysis is an excellent idea. Great job, guys and gal. Hey.
Thank you so much. Wow. Okay, this is still like just one of those amazing things to be able to go through and look at every detail possible to really give a in-depth analysis of all the nuts and bolts, literally sometimes, of how to build a rocket, how to build a reusable launch system. And SpaceX is bold enough to do it out in the open next to the highway. It is an amazing journey for all of us to be able to experience this. And if you ever do have a chance, do go down to Starbase because it is worth it. If you are interested in this stuff, there is plenty to look at, plenty to learn and understand. So that is a experience that is worth taking.
So really quickly, if you zoom in on or were you about to point at something?
I was actually going to say there was a question, I believe, particularly about the chopsticks. So if we would like to answer that question, then we can be able to go through that.
So Paul Gracie asks, how do the chopsticks get power to the hydraulics?
Okay, so the hydraulics are actually all connected through a line. It's not on this side; it's on the opposite side. That has a track that allows it to go up and down. So like let me see if there's another picture here, because I don't think we have it. It might be closer to the beginning of all this, but there's a track. So if somebody wants to grab the image for me here real quick, there's a track that it shows a
cable chain.
Cable chain, yeah, and the cables run through it. Hydraulics, pressure lines all run through there. So it's all flexible, and it goes to these particular elements here. So the actual pumps and everything else, they are stationary inside of the integration tower. They're up higher up here, I believe, so kind of halfway up through the entire system. And that's where it gets through that cable chain. It goes through power, data, hydraulics, any pneumatics that you need. It's all going through that cable chain directly to these chopsticks. And then of course you have like data for let's say controlling the actuators, or like hydraulics for these guys. They need some sort of hydraulics. You can't see the it just barely is missing them, but the cameras. There's cameras down here. Those need data. Other control wires or systems, you'll need to be able to bring those in. So like this right here looks to be just some conduit directly to protect the cables. This will receive a bit of heat, I believe. I do not expect that they will ever cover these. Do you guys expect any covers on the chopsticks?
Yes.
Where are you looking specifically?
The whole thing.
The whole thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think that they're going to cover the entire thing. I don't see a reason not to, and they rendered it covered. They've been rendering it covered for a long time. Though there's only been two, I suppose, two separate images where they've shown them covered. But
I've seen the renders, and it makes it look really clean, but they don't have a lot of details in those renders. That's one other thing I've noticed.
Very minimum, I hope they put them on the top so that they cover up the screws. The screws for the what do you call them? I don't know what that mechanism is called.
So the
on the rail.
Turnbuckle.
Yes. Guide plates.
Yeah, they're basically guide pins on the top that shift the booster back and forth along the rail.
Oh, the pushers.
Yes. I don't know what the actual name for them is called. I don't think we have a name for them.
We call them the pushers.
Oh yeah, so you're talking about the pushers up here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there was actually a really great image of that just a little bit ago. I kind of skipped through it directly of those pushers, as well as the pin system for Starship. So going back through the pictures, because we did kind of skip through a little bit. Here's a good one. So there's the pins we're talking about for Starship. The pushers are attached to this. So either this device rotates, or it's being able to be pushed back and forth, and it is just held in place by another rail, which I don't see another rail system. So I think this would have to be able to move a little bit, or it could be very much attached to something else, but I don't see that either. So anyways, these are the pins. They are hydraulically pushed out and into the Starship so that you lock it into place. So this little piece is just like what you have for the back of a trailer hitch. It's that little round knob there. But I do actually have a good picture, I believe I can grab here, of the chain that we're talking about here. So let me go back to down here.
So GB, do you think the covering on the chopsticks will be like the cladding on the tower?
This actually doesn't show the cable chain. The cable chain is just around the corner here. Well, actually, should be right here, but I'm not really. Oh, there it is. It's up here. It's been lifted because, well, the chopsticks are above where I was expecting to see them. There is the cable chain right there. So it comes down to about here where it is attached. So that was the one thing that we were trying to point out for that cable chain. So thank you for grabbing that image for me, Spoil Sport. So what was that question again, Indian Star? I'm sorry, I had to grab that.
I thought, never mind. I was just asking if GB thought the cladding Would be what they covered the chopsticks with, like they did or will do with OLIT. But I don't know that GB's around, so I'll
Okay,
ask him
so
another
I'll-
time.
Sorry, I accidentally muted myself. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know. I mean, it'll probably look different because there's not the same mounting points on it for those, so it'll probably look different. But yeah, I just think we'll see some sort of solid paneling on the outside of it. Not sure what it'll look like though.
So I'm thinking about this as well. There was a great note from Sam SN18 here. He did say that with additional weight, it's not going to have as much maneuverability. So if you do need to protect it, the only places you really need to protect it at are at the top and potentially at the side. But there's not a lot to protect over here. It is really this kind of stuff that you need to be able to protect a bit more. So you would be selective about where you would be needing to protect things. So the top is the big one. But that's about it for coverings that I can think that might need or will need. Sometimes they'll just do things and they'll break things and figure out, okay, we really do need this, or they don't. So when it's launching, it's in the T pose. So it is spread about as far as it can go from left to right. It's the same position it was in for the Starship presentation.
There's also a question from Enio. They're
Let's go
asking,
for it.
isn't it going to take ages to line up all those clamps with the cameras? The 3-hour turnaround time goal that Elon's set seems very optimistic. They're not even
Well,
looking at refilling.
I have a longer explanation about that one too. It's that's a big rabbit hole. I don't know. I'm gonna pass on that one.
Well, you could you could for rabbit holes. There's two ways about it: going deep in depth or just briefly describing it and then moving forward.
I don't know, guys. Let's skip that one for now. I spent a lot of time like putting really big articles together for you guys, so I don't want to like ruin things before I get them out because I don't know. I like to give people something to look forward to, and I don't want it like just being all talked about before I have a chance to finish it and make sure everything's good on that subject. So,
by the way, this is another example of the cable chain. So you can see the wires going down. It does rotate there. So that's another great way to look at this. You'll see the cable chains all over the place.
So basically, instead of pouring a really large actual concrete wall, they're putting these concrete masonry bricks to create that wall. So, I joked about this being a wall that they would use so that Elon doesn't have to look at these horizontal tanks that he hates. But in all seriousness, I would not be surprised at all if they put a massive SpaceX LED sign on this brick wall right here. I can't think of any other reason to go with brick other than pouring concrete, if not for putting a massive Starbase sign up there. And also, there's a ton of, Thomas, you asked me the other day about all the conduit coming out on the corner of the wall.
Yeah, so we're able to find out what's going on there.
Well, that was my guess. I saved it for now.
Ta-da!
Just the sign, the
Yes.
neon sign. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I would just say that they're going to paint the wall black. That's kind of their style. They'll paint concrete, they'll paint brick, they'll do whatever they want, but it has to be black. That's just my opinion on that. But I'm glad to see that they did get the bricks going. We were seeing the scaffolding last week. We saw the bricks sitting there, and it's like 1 + 1 = 2, and it's happening. So glad to see that our predictions keep turning out true. This is the picture we were talking about earlier of the vent. So there is what looks to be a heat exchanger back there, basically a large tank-looking object, but I'm pretty sure it's a heat exchanger. We've seen this on the first time in use when they were doing load of nitrogen into the horizontal tanks. I'm sorry, not nitrogen, methane. So we had our first trucks coming in. We're up to what now, like beyond 15, I expect, methane trucks that have come in at this point to the orbital fuel farm. And this has been active off and on. At this point, it's frosted up right here. I believe this is nitrogen, and it's just cooling down the methane coming into the system.
So I think we did some calculations a few months ago that it would take 58 trucks to load up one Starship methane tank. And to load up the entire vertical fuel farm would take at least twice as much. But yeah, so if those numbers are right, we are at least what was it?
Like 40 more.
Yeah, 43 more for an orbital launch minimum. Plus, you're going to have wastage, and you have to fill the lines. So
Yep.
I'd put
And
it
there's always
probably
the ullage that's like, I'm doing nothing but taking up space.
yeah. Well, actually, that's almost a discount. That's less you have to fill up because that's gas. But yeah, you're still looking at I would estimate 50 more deliveries. Plus, you have to have the horizontal tanks put in that they're laying the groundwork for, and you have to fill those up as well.
So the motors that you were talking about, or the pump systems you were talking about before, Golden Boy, that Lab has told us about. What is the side is it on? Is it the methane side or the lock side?
It's on the lock side, actually.
Oh, nice.
Not
there's
nice, actually,
Well,
because
there's-
they don't appear to be adding pumps over there, so it looks more like they're swapping one out.
Okay, well, but they'll need to get as much propellants through the system as they can. But these pumps are beefier, the ones that we've seen, the newer ones that are coming in, or at least the pumps and the rest of the system. So, all right, well, we've got a few more pictures left. Let's get through them, and then we should be able to grab some questions along the way.
I
So,
will
Indian Star?
send you a picture of it. Actually, I realized that I should have just forwarded you the one that Lab sent. And Scuba just tagged me in again. Thank you, Scuba.
So, quick background here. This is test stand A, but this is the Raptor lift for the super heavies at the orbital pad. So they basically bring in a forklift, stick it on a Raptor on the forklift, bring it up to here. Then this will be a scissor lift that moves up from there. So this entire thing is basically just a giant scissor lift from what we can tell. These particular elements right here, those are just railings so that people don't fall over and hurt themselves, and also could be locked in, so they've got safety harnesses and all that. I suspect that these ports right here might be hydraulics or electrical connections. I'm not sure how this particular scissor lift system works, if it is a hydraulic or a motorized system there. But actually looking at these lines, still can't tell. I need the other side to be able to kind of get a bit more on that. But speaking of water deluge earlier, this is the water deluge of the test stands. We have a similar looking system with holes all around it on the orbital pad. So I do suspect we are looking at a small water deluge system. It's really just a small sound suppression system. It tries to protect this, basically the assets. With, in this case, it's the test stand. I believe that would be the minimal case at the same time for the orbital launch table, that it's just a protection for the orbital launch table, not protection from lots of sound, because you're not going to be able to do much about that when it's 600 feet off the ground and really loud everywhere in the area. So
wait, sorry, can you go back to that? Which ones are you?
These both are water deluges. So this one and this one.
Do you see the scroll to the left a little bit?
Okay, to the left here.
Is this the same image you were just looking at?
Yeah, this is the same image.
Oh, okay. I see a pipe with a port coming off it right there.
Mm-hmm.
And there looks similar to the ones that are on the orbital launch mount. They're smaller.
Yep. Yeah. So they've been using water. So that would be actually either a second or third one.
Are you saying that's water?
Yeah, they've been using water all over the place.
Well, if that's water, then the one on the launch mount should be water, because that's pointed up at the engines.
Mm-hmm.
But I just have a hard time believing that they spray the engines directly with water.
Well, so this would be at liftoff that these would be switched on, just kind of like you see, I think, with Falcon 9. These ones turn on about T-minus 10. Then these ones either come on at the same time or just after. So we've never really gotten to see inside this area that well when we have liftoff of any of the starships, but it is still super critical that we have that ability to basically protect your assets. You want to protect your Starship QD and all of the lines in the area. It protects it from basically that the shock waves a little bit from the engine, so it's so loud that you're able to vibrate the metal apart if you don't have any way of dampening that sound and converting that sound energy into steam. That's a great way of doing it. Oh yes, this guy. It's the corrugated steel that they painted black, and then they covered over just this little block over here, which was the control system for the fire suppression system of the landing pad. And yeah, that landing pad's no longer really used or useful. But there is Wi-Fi in there as well. Their Wi-Fi is not going to be working here any longer with this around it, or not very well. But here is the stuff for the water bags that they, I believe, are taking away at this point, unless
No,
this
I
was
think
on the other
these
way out.
just showed up.
Mauricio, Mauricio is going to be the best one to ask. Did these just show up, or were they taking these down when you were able to take this picture?
I believe those had just showed up. I
Yeah.
think,
Sorry, go.
what is it, Chief? I think Chief posted a photo of
That's
them
what I was gonna say. Yeah,
going up.
he posted that. And you were, this was yesterday, right? Not, yeah, you're right. This was
This is
yesterday.
all yesterday. All
Yeah,
of this is
so-
yesterday.
So yeah, Chief posted that early in the week. I think it was on Wednesday, and then they brought him to the launch site. I'm really hoping that they do another test with much heavier weight than they did the first time.
They were able to do 500 tons the first time, so that's a lot of weight. I
Sorry,
don't know.
the second time.
How much
Oh,
weight
yeah.
would you like to see, Zach?
At least 500 or 600. I mean, because then the reason is because ideally you're gonna have the perfect amount of locks left over, and it's mostly locks because your methane is going to be pretty much gone. But you could potentially come down with too much for some reason. I don't know what would cause that necessarily. I mean, it's pretty well simulated out as far as what they're expecting. But I don't know. Let's say you, for some reason, I don't know. I guess it wouldn't matter if you lost an engine. But yeah, just in the possible chance that you come down with too much fuel, you still got to catch it. You don't want to just let it hit the ground. So testing it for something that's a lot greater than what you're expecting it to, which is what we call a factor of safety. So going up to 2x on your factor of safety. So if the booster weighs 160, you would be testing it at 320. But I would go above 2, because an additional 160 tons is not that much when you're talking about a booster that carries 4,300 tons of fuel. So yeah, I mean, we'll see exactly what they end up doing with them, but I imagine that'll happen kind of early in the week.
Oh, we've got
That
our
said, we're
lift.
just about out of time, Thomas.
Yeah. So, any more questions we can bring in before we're ending? And I do see a comment from Ryan S. here. It says they installed the Wi-Fi on top of the guard shack. So let me grab that real quick here. There's the guard shack. Apparently, they've installed Wi-Fi up here, and the guard is not pleased. But no, they're good. They're good folks. They do talk to you if you do cross the road, because it is dangerous. People will stand here or stand further around, let's say to the right, with their backs towards the road. And it is a very dangerous position to be in, because you sometimes don't hear cars coming. Teslas are very quiet. You only hear the tires. You don't hear an engine. They do make a little bit of noise intentionally so that you can be warned of a potential vehicle about to strike you. But a lot of people just don't pay attention. It's a very dangerous situation, very active. So if you do go down there, stay safe and stay on this side of the road, not that side of the road. That is the side you don't want to be on.
Well, it's been another week of wonderful pictures from Mauricio. Thank you very much for driving out there and taking all these. Beautiful as always. And with that, Indian Star.
Yes.
Hey.
Hey.
I want to give you the opportunity to say goodbye and thanks and all that.
Oh, Okay, goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We hope you will be able to join us next week, and we hope that you enjoyed what you heard. If you do enjoy it, if you want to hear us next week, if you want to be reminded, make sure that you subscribe, make sure you like, and if you can afford it, feel free to donate through Patreon, through YouTube, whatever works for you. Anything to help Mauricio stay in the air so we can keep doing what we're doing, which is learning about SpaceX behind their back. Well, not so much behind their back, but definitely learning about SpaceX and all of this.
Yeah, it's all in the open. They show it to us out in the open, and we learn from it. It's a great experience.
We
Over their
usurp the
shoulder.
information for sure.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff happening. So stay tuned to next week as well. And during big events as well, there are definitely live streams. So we have Lab Padre, and then every once in a while, Mauricio is able to get a live stream out. So definitely pay attention to these channels. These are the best places to grab all of the best of info.
Yeah, go Team Space.
And with that, what's the end?
GPJ always takes us out.
Well, let's do it then. Let's do it.
All right. Main engine cutoff. Stage separation confirmed. We're out. Love you. Bye.